Chapter 411. The spirit chi contained in the natural spirit stone was very wonderful. Jun Changshao and the others could feel that the spirit chi they absorbed was even stronger than eating a high-quality chi gathering pill. And this was only the spirit chi in the process. If they took a complete spirit chi and absorbed it seriously, it would definitely be more satisfying. Dig! 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 Jun Changshao hurriedly urged. He wanted to empty the entire spirit stone mine and put it into the space ring. Li Qingyang and the others carefully dug. As for Su Xiaoma, he would definitely be given a demerit and would not be able to eat for 2 days. In fact, it was not a problem to not eat for a few days after becoming a martial master. However, not being able to eat Lu Wanchu's food was definitely a huge pain. With such a punishment system in place, everyone was extra careful when digging. The sun set in the west. Li Qingyang and the others were covered in mud as they dug out of the deep pit. It seemed that being a disciple of Iron Bone, not only did they have to cultivate martial arts, but they also had to take on various jobs, such as mining now. Baskets of natural spirit stones were placed on the grass. There were at least 5,000 of them. After Jun Changshao counted them, he waved his hand and put them into the space ring. He only gave 1 spirit stone to each disciple who participated in the mining. The rest would be accumulated. This kind of naturally condensed martial Dao resource was limited with every use. It could not be mass-produced like pills, so it had to be carefully considered and planned. Night came. Jun Changshao sat in the spirit-gathering formation, holding a freshly harvested spirit stone in his hands. Whoosh whoosh. The majestic spirit chi was guided by his mind and turned into a pure stream of light, entering his body through his mouth and nose. The spirit stones formed naturally were similar in size to those on the market, but the spirit chi they contained was large enough. In one night, Jun Changshao had absorbed 10 spirit stones. Phew! He exhaled and murmured, "At this rate, I can enter rank 6 from rank 5 in 2 to 3 days if I keep absorbing and cultivating day and night." It took a month before, but now it only took 2 to 3 days. The speed was especially obvious. Of course. Based on the daily intake of 20 spirit stones, it would cost 50 to 60 spirit stones in 2 to 3 days. If it were artificially refined spirit stones, it would definitely cost hundreds of spirit stones. Ordinary people could not afford it at all. The system said, spirit stones are indeed natural. In terms of spirit chi and purity, they are superior to man-made spirit stones. Hua Martial Arts Symposium. Jun Chang smiled and said, "I hope I can advance from the 5th rank to the 7th rank during this time." Next, he ordered his disciples to continue mining spirit stones while he focused all his energy on cultivation. If he were to be looked down upon by the various sects in the Huashan Martial Arts Symposium, he would be in deep trouble. Only by raising his strength would he have the confidence to stand against them. 3 days later, Jun Changshao successfully advanced from the 5th rank to the 6th rank martial ancestor realm. This was really fast. Because there was no high-efficiency spirit gathering array or high-efficiency spirit gathering pill. Therefore, phew. After cultivating for a while, he opened his eyes and exhaled. It will take at least 6 days to enter rank 7 from rank 6. It doubled. However, he could set off for Hua Mountain to participate in the martial arts symposium. Continue. Jun Changshao took out spirit stones and spirit pills to cultivate again. Except for 1 meal a day, he spent most of his time in the spirit gathering array. In the past 3 days, he had absorbed more than 60 spirit stones. They had lost their spirit chi and were scattered around like stones. Li Qingyang and the others continued to mine spirit stones in the mine. They could dig out about 5,000 spirit stones a day. Although they wanted to use them for cultivation, they still handed them in dutifully. No one would keep them for themselves. The sect leader was so good to him. He gave him all kinds of resources and martial arts techniques. If he touched spirit stones because of his personal desires, he would not be a disciple of the Iron Bone sect. He had to say. The sect that sect leader June took care of had a very good atmosphere. If it were other sects, few disciples would be able to resist the temptation of so many spirit stones. They would choose to secretly take a few and put them in their pockets. It was unknown how big the mine was and how many spirit stones there were. The disciples of the Iron Bone sect listened to the sect leader's orders and actively dug every day. 6 days later, Jun Changshao entered rank 7 Wuzong from rank 6. In 9 days, he had absorbed a total of 180 spirit stones. Artificial spirit stones on the market were 10,000 taels each. This kind of large amount of pure spirit stones could be sold for at least 2 to 300,000 taels each. Even if I could use 1,800 artificial spirit stones to help me reach rank 7, I would not be able to do it so quickly. Jun Changshao murmured. The system said, therefore, the recovery of spirit qi is a great opportunity for the host and the sect. High spirit qi, high spirit stones. For a martial cultivator, it was a great benefit. Jun Changshao had the spirit gathering array and high spirit pills. Under the combination of multiple factors, it would be easy for him to break through quickly. Opportunity. Opportunity to become stronger. Although spirit stones are strong, there will be a time when the mine will be emptied. Jun Changshao murmured, therefore, a reasonable distribution is very important. If spirit stones could be inexhaustible, he would definitely let the disciples receive a fixed amount every month, just like the pills. But now, he had to plan carefully. Initial thoughts. Inner sect disciples would receive a fixed amount every month. Outer sect disciples could also receive a fixed amount, but it would not be too much. After a period of testing, it could be added as a reward to let them focus more on cultivation. There were also sect missions. If the disciples completed a certain number of missions or obtained a certain number of contribution points, they would be rewarded accordingly. In short, the disciples had the opportunity to obtain spirit stones. However, they had to rely on their own efforts to obtain them. They could not be given as they wished. Of course, there were still many spirit stones in the mine. Sect leader Jun began to let the disciples enter in batches to dig, instead of always letting a group of people be miners. Although the disciples would not touch the ores out of greed, they still made a rule that anyone who took spirit stones without permission would be expelled from the sect. As for those who destroyed the spirit stones during the mining process, they would continue to starve for 2 days and watch everyone eat Lu Wancher's cooking in the cafeteria. This punishment caused the disciples to howl in their hearts. Some people were even willing to be ruthlessly beaten up and did not want to miss out on Lu Wancher's cooking. Sect leader. In the main hall, Jiang Ye said seriously, I am an Iron Bone elder. I should be able to receive a fixed amount of spirit stones every month, right? Of course. How much can you receive? 5. Jiang Ye was startled for a moment and then broke down. Inner sect disciples can receive 20 spirit stones every month. As an elder, how can I only receive 5? Jun Changshao said calmly, 5 spirit stones is the base salary. Base salary? Jiang Ye was confused. Jun Changshao said, there are many disciples in the outer sect who need someone to teach them. As an elder, don't just focus on cultivating. When you have nothing to do, teach them martial arts. The corner of Jiang Ye's mouth twitched. Jun Changshao said again, I have already built a Wu-Tang class. You will teach them every once in a while. At the end of the month, you will receive a fixed amount of spirit stones according to the progress of the outer sect disciples. Jiang Ye patted his chest and said, teaching a group of meridian opening and martial disciples, I am still competent. These words were a bit too full of himself. Little did they know that when this martial king expert faced Shengguan Xinyao, who wanted to get to the bottom of this matter, he crawled out of the Wu-Tang class with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. Oh God, save me. Chapter 412. During the 9 days when sect leader Jun was cultivating wholeheartedly, not only did he obtain natural spirit stones, but he also obtained a new batch of medicinal herbs. With the infusion of 20 times the spiritual energy, the newly refined medicinal herbs had terrifying spiritual energy. Jun Changshao refined all of them into qi-gathering pills. After taking one, he realized that it was at least 20 times more effective than ordinary qi-gathering pills. In the past, Elder Wei could only cultivate the medicinal herbs to 15 times the spiritual energy due to the limited environment. Not bad, not bad. Jun Changshao would definitely be satisfied as long as it could speed up his cultivation. Sect leader Elder Wei said, this batch of medicinal herbs benefited from their growth, so their spiritual energy hasn't reached the peak yet. The next batch will only be stronger. Peppa the wild boar also contributed to the high spiritual energy of the new medicinal herbs. During this period, it had been diligently nurturing the soil of the herb garden with its earth attribute every day. Not only did it cover the entire area, but it also extended outwards. As the number of disciples increased and their realms increased, they would definitely need more martial arts resources. Elder Wei naturally had to expand the scale of the herb garden. Initial plan. First, it would increase from 10 mu to 100 mu. The disciples of the medicine hall, such as Sun Bukong and the others, had also become medicine masters under Elder Wei's guidance. As the saying goes, great teachers produce great disciples. Although they hadn't been certified, their ability to cultivate medicinal herbs was definitely not something that medicine masters could compare to. Jun Changshao said, I'll have to trouble Elder Wei to plant more herbs to provide more cultivation resources for iron bone. As he spoke, he took out 50 natural spirit stones and said, this is Elder Wei's monthly salary. Inner sect disciples could only earn 20 at most. He directly gave 50 of them and even presented them to them personally. It could be seen that he respected and valued them very much. During this period, the martial arts resources that the disciples consumed were all medicinal herbs refined by Elder Wei. Jun Changshao could treat anyone badly, but he would never treat Elder Wei badly. It could be said that whether the sect could become stronger or not depended on this reclusive expert. Elder Wei shook his head and said, even if I absorb the spirit stones, they will dissipate with time. Leave the position of sect leader to the group of children with dreams. The words, children, revealed the vicissitudes of life and helplessness of an old man. Everyone had a time when they were young, and Elder Wei was no exception. It was just that he had experienced so much and gradually grew old. The dreams that he once persist could only be used as memories. Elder Wei. Jun Chang said with smile, I will find a way to cure your illness and restore your demeanor as a martial emperor. Then you will follow us youngsters and fight for your dreams. I hope that day will come, Elder Wei said with a smile. His illness was considered a rare and incurable disease, and the probability of it being cured was 0. However, since he was a member of the Iron Bone faction, he would naturally risk his old bones to help them go further and fly higher. The Iron Bone sect operated as usual, with the spirit stone mining and the disciples cultivating. Jun Changshao stopped cultivating and started thinking about the upcoming martial arts symposium on Mount Hua. For such a grand occasion, it's only natural for a group of people to attend, Li Luoqiu said. You're right. Jun Changshao said, go inform Elder Jiang. Tell him to get ready and follow me to Mount Hua. Li Luoqiu didn't need to inform him. Jiang Ye walked into the main hall with a broken face. As soon as he sat down, he hugged his head and said frantically, Sect leader, that disciple named Shengguan Xinyao is too scary. Today was the first time he held a Wu-Tang class as an elder. At first, it was quite peaceful. The disciples listened with great interest. Some of them even looked enlightened. But when the class was about to end, Shengguan Xinyao stood up and asked about martial arts. Ha! She's quite attentive. Elder Jiang admired this female disciple very much, so he answered her questions carefully. In the end, it was a tragedy. Shangguan Xinyao's questions came one after another. Elder Jiang had a headache. When he patiently answered the questions one by one and got up to leave the Wu-Tang class, he suddenly had a feeling of, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Jun Changshao looked at him sympathetically. He was also broken down by Shangguan Xinyao's questions. However, he quickly returned to the topic. Follow me to Mount Hua tomorrow to participate in the sect's Tao discussion. Sure, Jiang Yi said. He had been cultivating in the sect for a long time. Other than showing his skills in the life and death arena, he rarely showed his face. I'm the only elder in Iron Bone now. I should at least give more screen time. I can't let the disciples take all the screen time. Jun Changshao thought for a while and decided to bring Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, Shao Ziji, Yi Xingchen, and Zhou Hong. As for the other disciples, they continued to cultivate in the sect. Elders and core disciples. Iron Bone could be considered to have sent all the elites to Mount Hua to participate in the sect's Tao discussion. The next day, Lu Wancher prepared a sumptuous meal for the sect leader and the others. After eating, they headed south under the warm farewell of the disciples. The distance between Mount Hua and Iron Bone Mountain was further than Longyang City. However, with wind-type beasts, it was not a problem to travel quickly. Sect leader. On the way, Li Qingyang said, these hurricane wolves seem to be stronger than before. The beasts absorb the attributes of heaven and earth to increase their cultivation. There are 20 times more spiritual energy in the mountains, so naturally, they'll become stronger. Jiang Ye forced himself to play along. This sentence inspired Jun Changshao. He thought to himself, if I have time, I can capture more beasts and raise them in the mountains. First, I can regularly obtain beast meat and crystal cores. Other people raised animals, such as cows, sheep, chickens, and ducks. This guy planned to raise beasts in the mountains. This idea was a little scary. They had just climbed a few mountains and crossed a few rivers. Why were there so many rugged roads? Go to hell, the mountains are more dangerous and the water is more evil. They have encountered difficulties and suffered hardships, but the road to heaven is wide and wide. This was the opening song in the sequel of Journey to the West. It could be used to describe the difficulties of sect leader Jun and the group of disciples. Of course, they didn't encounter any monsters on the way. Instead, they encountered bandits. Everyone. Sitting on a huge rock, Jun Changshao, who was eating skewers, said speechlessly, they didn't even say their lines and came out to rob. This doesn't conform to the rules of the underworld. Around him, 70 to 80 fierce-looking bandits with swords and sabers surrounded him and his disciples. Rules of the underworld? The bandit leader was startled and said, could it be that we're in the same profession? Shua. Jun Changshao threw away the skewers, put his hands behind his back, and said loudly, the earth shakes the mountain, a stream of mountains is eternal beauty. Bandit leader? Bandit members? Shua. Li Qingyang, Shao Ziji, and the others stood up and shouted, the door faces the sea, the Sanha River flows for 10,000 years. The bandit leader immediately understood. This was definitely a secret signal in the underworld. However, he had been in the underworld for so long, and he had only heard of the secret signal of the Heavenly King covering the Earth Tiger and the pagoda suppressing the river demon. He had never heard of a stream of mountains is eternal beauty. Whoosh! At this moment, a cold light flashed in front of his eyes. Yi Xingchen held a sword in his left hand and ate a skewer with his other hand. He said coldly, trash, you should die and go back to the garbage dump. Plop. The bandit leader's legs went soft, and he immediately knelt on the ground. A sword mark appeared on his neck. Boss! The bandits exclaimed in unison. Shua! Shua! They waved their swords and sabers angrily, and then, before they could make a move, they saw dense sword shadows exploding toward them. Clang! Clang! Li Qingyang, Shao Ziji, and the others sheathed their swords. When the sword chi dissipated, the 80 bandits around them all fell to the ground and died. Jun Changshao looked up at the mountain in the distance and murmured, "Let's go to the bandits' lair and rob them." Chapter 413. There was a mountain in the area where Jun Changshao was. It was called Lingshan. There was a Lingshan village on the mountain. There were about 300 to 500 bandits gathered there. They killed and robbed people all year round. Many innocent people had died under their blades. Sins committed by the heavens could be forgiven, but sins committed by oneself could not be forgiven. This saying was not wrong at all. At this moment, every bandit in the village who had blood on their hands was lying dead on the ground. The fresh blood that flowed out was stinky. Plop! The leader of the Lingshan village knelt on the ground. His eyes were filled with horror and despair. So many of his men had been killed in such a short time. What kind of big shot did that damned second head offend when he went down the mountain to rob people? He did not offend any big shots. He only offended Iron Bone and Jun Changshao. Friend. The leader of the Lingshan village begged in a trembling voice, please spare my worthless life. He did not want to die. He wanted to live. Spare. Jun Changshao, who was standing in front of him, pointed to the right and said, ask them if they agree. There were many corpses that had died not long ago. Judging from their clothes, there were commoners, businessmen, tourists, and many children. There were many wounds on their bodies. It was obvious that they had been tortured before they died. The female corpses that were slightly more beautiful were not dressed properly. They must have been raped when they were alive. Friend, they are all dead. How do I ask? The leader of the Lingshan village said. Ask them in the netherworld. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Qianqian swung her sword and beheaded the leader of the Lingshan village. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, it is too easy to kill someone who is worse than an animal. He made a solemn statement again. Our sect leader Jun was not a good person, but he was not a bad person either. When he encountered such a heartless bandit group, he would kill them all. He would not show any mercy. You could say that he was getting rid of evil for the people. But in fact, Li Qingyang reported, sect leader, we have found the treasury. Jun Changshao asked, how much is there? Not bad. He exterminated this group of bandits because he couldn't stand how inhumane they were. His true motive was to rob them. Li Qingyang said, 50,000 taels of gold, 3 million taels of banknotes, and various materials. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, are there any bandits on the way to Mount Hua? If there is, we will choose that path. This was robbery. He was addicted to it. Sect leader. Li Qingyang handed over a sheepskin scroll and said, I found a treasure map in the treasury. Treasure map. Jun Changshao took it and unfolded it. There was a complicated topography carved on it. This was obviously a map. In the center of the map, there was an eye-catching red cross as a mark. At the bottom right corner of the map, there was a small line of words. The content was, do thou want my treasure? If you want it, then come here and look for it. So fucking direct. Jun Changshao casually put it into his spatial ring and complained, do you think you're the pirate king? Just one sentence and you want me to look for it? He didn't take this ancient map to heart at all. Whoosh whoosh. The stronghold was engulfed in flames. Jun Changshao left with his disciples. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, getting rid of evil for the people too. You have gained 500 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 1950500. Jun Changshao was stunned and said, there's actually 2 missions for getting rid of evil for the people. When he exterminated the Heifeng stronghold, he completed the mission once. Now, he was exterminating the Lingshan stronghold again. It was really unexpected. The system said, if there are 2 epic-level missions, there must be hidden missions too. Will there be 3, 4, 5? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, the host needs to explore this on his own. I won't tell you even if I know. Fuck. If there were bandits on that path, he would choose that path. This was something that Jun Changshao had said casually. But, he had put it into action the moment he completed the task of ridding the world of evil. Whoosh whoosh. After walking for a few hundred miles, a bandit stronghold on a nameless mountain was burned to ashes. All the bandits who had done evil were also killed. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, getting rid of evil for the people 3. You have gained 500 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 2450500. Indeed. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. As long as I eliminate these bandits, I can complete the mission of getting rid of evil for the people. From the first, second, and third missions, it's more like a series of missions. Search. Continue searching. Originally, he was going to participate in the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium. However, after Jun Changshao discovered the special feature of the hidden mission, he turned his attention to the bandits. Unfortunately, after searching for a few hundred miles on the Hurricane Wolf King and climbing over a few mountains, he only found one bandit group. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, getting rid of evil for the people 4. You have gained 500 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 2950500. After eliminating the third evil force, Jun Changshao received another reward. This made him very happy. It's too easy to earn contribution points. If it's getting rid of evil for the people, I don't have to do anything in the future. I can just search for bandits and kill them. The next day, Jun Changshao led his disciples and continued to search for bandits in the mountains. He couldn't wait for them to come and rob him. Everyone else tried their best to hide and even prayed that they wouldn't be discovered when they were traveling. His method of actively searching was quite amazing. Hard work paid off. Jun Changshao found another group of bandits on another mountain. The group was quite large, with more than 500 bandits. The bandit leader's cultivation was quite good. He had actually reached the level of stage 1 Wuzong. In the hall of the stronghold, Jun Changshao sat on a tigerskin chair and crossed his legs. With such cultivation, why don't you find a decent job and become a bandit? Don't you think you're wronging yourself? The bandit leader was a middle-aged man. Although Li Qingyang's cold-edged sword was on his neck, he still held his head high and said, "You can kill me or cut me up as you wish." Oh. Jun Changshao was quite surprised. Although this person was a bandit, he didn't have a violent aura. Instead, he gave off the feeling that he was a soldier. Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and said, "You're a soldier." A hint of pain appeared in the bandit leader's eyes, but he easily covered it up. He said, "If I'm a soldier, how can I be a bandit here?" Sect leader Jiang Ye said, "Although this group of bandits is weak, they are very disciplined. It's obvious that they have undergone strict military training." Jun Changshao looked at the bandit leader and rubbed his chin. So, this guy isn't just a soldier. He might even be a general. Jiang Ye said, "A general becoming a bandit. This is a man with a story." Jun Changshao stood up and walked to the bandit leader. He said, "When I came in, I didn't see any corpses or bloodstains. You shouldn't be one of those heartless bandits, right? I don't kill innocent people. I only kill those high officials and nobles who harm the common people." The bandit leader said proudly. Jun Changshao cupped his fists and said, "So you're a bandit who steals from the rich to help the poor. Sorry for the disrespect." Sect leader Li Qingyang used telepathy and said, "This person shouldn't be a heinous person. Why don't you let him go?" Jun Changshao said, the sect still lacks more than 2,000 disciples. It's impossible to let him go. No matter what, we have to take him in for our own use. That's a good idea. Li Qingyang agreed. Jun Changshao looked at the bandit leader and said, being a bandit in the mountains is really a bit hard on yourself. Join my Iron Bone sect and do something big with me. Iron Bone sect? The bandit leader was stunned and said, are you talking about the Iron Bone sect? Chapter 4:14. My Iron Bone sect's reputation is so high that even the bandits thousands of miles away have heard of it. Jun Changshao said, that's right. You call yourself this seat, could it be that you are the second sect leader of the Iron Bone sect, Jun Changshao? The bandit leader said. TSK. Jun Changshao said, you even know that I am the second sect leader, it seems that you have asked around a lot. The bandit leader said, you brought a group of disciples and killed your way into Huayang County, destroying 4 evil sects in a row. I admire such a chivalrous person who helps the people get rid of evil, so I will naturally ask around. Chivalrous person? Jun Changshao did not dare to accept it. Whether it was destroying the evil sects or eliminating the bandits, the real reason was not to get rid of evil for the people. Since you admire me so much, why don't you join the Iron Bone sect? Jun Changshao said. The bandit leader said, how can you prove that you are the Iron Bone sect leader? Jun Changshao immediately collapsed. The Long family did not believe it, and the bandits did not believe it either. I, the sect leader, have been fooled. Pa! The sect leader's seal was pressed on the table. Jun Changshao picked up the paper, pointed at the seal on it, and said, do you believe me now? The bandit leader said, this kind of sect leader's seal, the town can make 4 or 5 of them for 1 silver, even the imperial jade seal can be imitated. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. However, when he thought about how Sun Bukong took out all kinds of great emperor's successor tokens, he felt that it was not too difficult to make a fake sect leader's seal in another world. If you believe me, then you are the Iron Bone sect leader? Jun Changshao said. The bandit leader said, I heard that Iron Bone has a kind of spiritual force-type martial technique that can be continuously used. Xiao streams of crescent-shaped light streaked through the air and flew out of the hall, crashing into the mountain wall. Jun Changshao retracted his hand and said, you're talking about this move? The bandit leader's eyes widened. Naturally, he could tell that his opponent was using a spiritual power-type martial skill. To be able to slash out so many of them in one go, and the power was so strong, it was definitely the same as the rumors. I heard that there's a disciple from the Iron Bone sect who has an extremely strong body. He even won the grand tournament of the Azure Sun County. Bang! 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 Jun Changshao raised his fist and punched Xiao Ziji's chest a few times. Are you talking about him? The bandit leader was dumbfounded. This guy's punch had a force of at least 100,000 kilograms. Not only did that martial cultivator take it head-on, he didn't even take a step back. Just how strong was his physical body? Shua! The bandit leader cupped his hands and said, if Sect Master Jun doesn't mind, this Shua is willing to follow you. In fact, when Jun Changshao said that he was the sect master of the Iron Bone sect, he was a little convinced. After all, these martial cultivators were very young and strong, which matched the information he heard. During this period of time, the bandit leader had been asking around about the Iron Bone sect. He learned about all kinds of things, especially the Demon Annihilation sect, which made him admire them even more. Since they wanted to recruit him, he was definitely willing to join. Jun Changshao asked Li Qingyang to put away his sword and took out the entry form, name. Shuirengui. Shuirengui. An ancient famous general of Huaxia. Just because of this name, I'm going to take you in. Pa! Jun Changshao stamped the entry form directly. After hearing the notification of the addition of disciples and contribution points, he said, "From today onwards, you're the disciple of the Iron Bone sect." Taking in a Wuzong, how wonderful. Moreover, from the arrogant aura he exuded, he was definitely a soldier who had fought on the battlefield. The Wolf Rider Hall happened to be lacking a leader. If he was capable, it would be good to let him be the leader. Swoosh! Shui Rengui cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, sect leader." Becoming a bandit was a helpless move. Now that he had joined the Iron Bone clan, which had risen to fame, it was a wise choice. More than 500 bandits with low cultivation levels surrounded the hall with 3 layers of spears in their hands. Under normal circumstances, bandits' standard weapon was a large ringed sword, but these people used spears or spears. It was obvious that they were more like professionally trained soldiers. A bunch of trash. Yi Xingqian held his sword and stood at the door. His cold eyes were filled with disdain. As long as the sect leader gave the order, he would make sure that this bunch of trash would die and return to the junkyard as soon as possible. Night Emperor was strong. Unfortunately, after waiting for a long time, he did not receive the order. Yi Xingqian could not help but mutter in his heart, "This is not like the sect leader's style." What style? When he entered the territory of an evil force, as long as he saw innocent people die tragically, he would say decisively, "Kill them all, leave no one alive. Put down your weapons." Shui Rengui walked out of the hall and shouted in a deep voice. The subordinates listened to their boss's order and threw their weapons on the ground. This kind of absolute obedience and discipline, who would believe that they were bandits? "Brothers," Shui Rengui said, "I have already joined Iron Bone. If any of you are willing to follow me, then stay and find a better job. You can leave now." He joined Iron Bone. What's going on? Although everyone was shocked, they still shouted, "Wherever boss goes, we will go. Since boss has joined Iron Bone, we are willing to join too." Li Qingyang placed the table outside, and Xiao Ziji placed the chair. Jun Changshao sat down and said, "Then hurry up and sign up one by one." Ding! Sect member, 201550000. Ding! Sect contribution points, 195250000. After taking in more than 500 well-trained bandits, the number of members increased from 2014 to 2,525. He had also obtained 511 contribution points, increasing his contribution points from 2,950 to 3,461. Jun Changshao thought, "This martial arts symposium on Mount Hua is quite rewarding." Huff huff. The mountain stronghold burned under the fire. The fire was set by Shui Rengui, because joining Iron Bone meant starting from scratch, and the identity of a bandit was a thing of the past. "Tell us your story," Jun Changshao said on the way down the mountain. Shui Rengui hesitated for a moment and sighed, "Sect leader guessed right, I am not only a soldier, but also a general." "Why did you become a bandit?" "Because," Shui Rengui stopped and clenched his fists, and said with great courage, "I became a deserter." Li Qingyang and the others were surprised. Just now, he was being held by a sword and could die at any moment, but he could still act like a man of iron. But now, he became a deserter. This was really unexpected. "Why did you become a deserter?" Jun Changshao asked. Shui Rengui said, "Because I received an order to slaughter a town full of ordinary people." "You thought it was cruel, so you ran away." "That's right. A soldier's nature is to follow orders." Jun Changshao said, "As a general of an army, you didn't follow orders and deserted. You shouldn't have done that." "So, the moment I took off my armor, I was no longer worthy of the word soldier." Shui Rengui's eyes were filled with complicated emotions, but there was no regret. If he could go back in time and choose again, he still wouldn't hurt the innocent people, and those people were from his own country. A soldier's duty was to protect the country. Using weapons to kill the people he protected was something he couldn't do. A military order was like a mountain. If he didn't follow it, he would be dismissed and punished. So, he could only lead a group of trusted subordinates to become deserters, and then occupy a mountain, becoming a bandit who killed the rich to help the poor. This was Shui Rengui's story. A man who would rather go against the nature of a soldier and become a bandit than use weapons to kill the innocent. I hope you can follow orders and not become a deserter again. Jun Changshao said. Shui Rengui said seriously, as long as sect leader doesn't kill the innocent, I am willing to go through water and tread on fire for iron bone until my death. 3. Chapter 4:15. He definitely couldn't bring too many people to participate in the sect's martial arts competition. Jun Changshao threw an iron bone token to Shui Rengui and let him lead his men back to iron bone first. The iron bone token was engraved with the words, Iron Bone Unyielding. He had found a blacksmith to make it in Qingyang City to represent his sect's identity. Sect leader. Jiang Ye said, Shui Rengui is a talented leader. He can be the leader of the Wolf Rider Hall. I also have this plan. Jun Changshao was silent for a moment, then said, however, it will depend on his performance. He had just been accepted into the sect, so there was a period of observation. If he was satisfied, he would definitely be given to the leader. Everyone continued to walk towards Mount Hua. On the way, they naturally didn't forget to look for bandits. Huff huff. A raging fire burned. Another bandit organization full of evil was destroyed by Jun Changshao and his disciples. When he walked down the mountain, a notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, getting rid of evil for the people 5. You have received 500 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 3961500. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the series of missions, getting rid of evil for the people. You have received 1000 contribution points and the title, Chivalrous Warrior. Ding! Sect contribution points, 4961500. Damn! Jun Changshao suddenly opened his eyes wide. As he guessed, getting rid of evil for the people was a series of missions, but he didn't expect to receive 1000 contribution points, let alone a title. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the attribute panel. Sect leader, Jun Changshao, there was an additional, Chivalrous Warrior, suffix. Tapping on his name, a small attribute panel appeared. Host, Jun Changshao. Luck, 1, title, Little Prince of Expense. Title attribute, Luck +1. Available title, Chivalrous Warrior, replace. Tapping on the replace. The title changed from Little Prince of Expense to Chivalrous Warrior. The luck value changed from the previous 1 to 5. Jun Changshao said in surprise, this title adds so much luck value. The system said, so doing good deeds will be rewarded. Jun Chang said with a smile, now that we've completed this series of quests, does it mean that we won't be rewarded when we kill bandits in the future? That's right. The system said. Jun Changshao was a little dizzy. How good would it be if there were no restrictions? Since the mission was Chivalrous Warrior, Chivalrous Warrior, Chivalrous Warrior, Chivalrous Warrior, Chivalrous Warrior, Chivalrous Warrior, a chivalrous and righteously. In the end, he still destroyed them and took away all their assets. Jun Changshao increased the number of weapons he could refine to the maximum and refined them in one click. On the trip to the 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, he obtained a lot of cold iron. There were still hundreds of mid-grade cold light swords in his interspatial ring. Jun Changshao did not plan to give these weapons to his disciples for the time being. He would not reserve any basic facilities and martial arts resources for his disciples. But the higher and limited items, such as spirit stones and cold light swords, naturally needed to be exchanged with hard work. Mount Hua. The spiritual energy was not too strong, but the scenery was exceptionally beautiful. Especially the clouds and mist lingering halfway up the mountain, making people feel as if they were in a fairyland. At the foot of the mountain, many sect elders brought their disciples over from all directions. They gathered in the open space, and there were as many as 600 to 700 of them. They warmly greeted their acquaintances. Patriarch Wang, we haven't seen each other in a while. Patriarch Sun, your aura has become stronger again. I guess your cultivation has improved a lot. You flatter me. Polite words were endless, but it was unknown whether they were sincere or not. The sect martial arts competition was held on the mountain, so why were they gathered at the foot of the mountain? Because this kind of grand event had a segment in the past, and that was to see which sect could reach the top of the mountain first. They were all experts, so why were they competing in climbing? Little did they know that a long time ago, many sect formation masters had jointly set up an imposing array on the long stairs from the foot of the mountain to the top. Usually, the array was hidden in the dark and could not be detected. Every time the sect martial arts competition was held, it would be activated. The martial cultivators who climbed the mountain would have to endure a strong force of obstruction. The higher the cultivation, the stronger the force of obstruction. In the beginning, this was a small thing that a few elders made out of boredom. As the number of sects participating increased, it became an important segment. To be honest, the sect martial arts competition. It was actually a grand event with the nature of competition. The forces that came to participate naturally would not fall behind others. Therefore, the climbing segment was definitely an open competition and no one was willing to submit to the other. As they chatted, Patriarch Sun smiled and said, Patriarch Wang, our sect was a step behind in the last martial arts competition. This time, we will definitely be a step behind your sect. Ha ha ha. Patriarch Wang smiled and said, that's hard to say. Just as everyone was talking and waiting, the disciples of Miaohua Palace led by Shi Jingxian arrived and immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. There were at least 20 to 30 fifth-rate sects participating in the Mount Hua martial arts competition, but there were very few fourth-rate sections. As for third-rate sects, there was either none or only one in the past. To put it bluntly, it was a sect that wasn't too large in scale. Shi Jingxian said, is Sect Master Jun here? No. Looked around and did not see Jun Changshao or Iron Bone disciples. She immediately heaved a sigh of relief. She did not want the palace master to have too much interaction with Jun Changshao. Didn't he say that he was coming? Shi Jingxian murmured with a hint of sadness in her voice. Said, Iron Bone is only a seventh-rate sect. They will only become a laughing stock if they participate in the sect martial arts competition. It is wise not to come. Everyone. At this moment, a big shot of a fourth-rate sect said loudly, almost everyone is here. We can go up the mountain together. Let's go, let's go. Everyone agreed. Sigh. Shi Jingxian sighed bitterly and led the disciples up the mountain. Buzz. Buzz. As soon as they stepped on the first step, faint ripples appeared. The big shots and disciples of the various sects merged into the array in an orderly manner and began to climb up the mountain. What followed was a gurgling force. At first, they were still able to walk as if they were flying, but as they climbed higher and higher, their speed gradually slowed down and their foreheads more or less dripped with sweat. Zooming out, they could clearly see that the people of the various sects were in a line on the winding mountain path. 2 hours. Everyone had only reached the halfway point of the mountain. However, just as they continued to climb, Jun Changshao and his disciples slowly arrived at the foot of the mountain. Sect Master. Jiang Ye looked up and said, they went up. Let's go. Jun Changshao led his disciples up the stairs. As soon as they stepped onto the stairs and merged into the barrier, he said in surprise, there's an array. Whoosh. Whoosh. At this moment, a gurgling special force spread over. Li Qingyang said solemnly, Sect Master, this aura is very similar to the gravity on the first floor of the experience tower. That's right. Jun Changshao said. Jiang Ye said, who would be so bored as to set up an array on the stairs? Jun Changshao looked up and looked at the martial cultivators who had reached the halfway point of the mountain. He muttered, if I'm not wrong, this should be a test of the Mount Hua martial arts competition to see who can reach the top first. TSK Yi Xingqian said disdainfully, this force is much weaker than the experience tower. It will be easy to reach the top. Clap. Jun Changshao clapped his hands and grinned. So, it's time for my iron bone to show off. Chapter 4:16. It turned out that the array set up on the stairs of Mount Hua had the same restrictive force as the training tower's gravity. It was no wonder that the martial cultivators of the various sects found it more and more difficult to climb, taking 2 hours to reach the halfway point. Jun Changshao, who was walking like a snail or an ox, had just led his disciples into the array and stepped on the first step when they felt the gravitational force permeating the air. To be honest, they only felt the gravitational force. But the pressure it produced was almost equal to nothing. The gravity on the first level of the training tower was 10 times stronger, and the gravity here was at most 5 times stronger. So, it was not worth mentioning at all. Looking up at the martial cultivators of the various sects who were climbing the mountain, Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, catch up with them and surpass them. Yes. The disciples received the order and stepped forward. It could be said that they were flying. Not to mention these elite disciples, even Li Tiantian, Sima Zhongda, and the others could easily climb the mountain. After all, they usually went to the first level of the training tower to train for 2 to 4 hours. Because of their personalities, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji climbed the mountain at a moderate pace. If Su Xiaoma and Li Fei were present, they would have run up the mountain long ago. Jun Changshao admired the clouds and cliffs of Mount Hua along the way. He could not help but sigh. This world is rich in spirit qi, and the mountains and rivers nurtured are incomparable to those of earth. Whoosh whoosh with every step they climbed, the gravitational force whizzed over. Jun Changshao and Jiang Ye's expressions did not change. They climbed one step at a time. It could be said that they were stable. In terms of speed, it would take at most 10 minutes to catch up with the martial cultivators who were one step ahead. Then there were the various forces that participated in the sections. At this time, although they had climbed halfway, their faces were flushed and their breathing was rapid. The various big shots looked very calm, but they were quite uncomfortable inside. The 5 times gravitational force around the stairs exerted pressure according to the martial artist's cultivation. High-level martial cultivators were no weaker than low-level martial cultivators. Palace Master. Li Er said, are you okay? Because she had to climb while supporting the Palace Master, she was already drenched in sweat. Shi Jingxian said, I'm fine. He was really fine because his breathing was steady and there was no fluctuation on his face. Li Er couldn't help but secretly say, although Palace Mistress has an eye disease and looks very delicate, she has great willpower. The power of obstruction can't do anything to her. It's just that, just like last time, I and my fellow disciples will be dragging them down again. The Wondrous Flower Palace had participated in the previous sect martial arts competition. At that time, Shi Jingxian had also completely ignored gravity. Unfortunately, the disciples were all exhausted. Even though Li Er and the other disciples had gained some experience, they were only slightly better than the previous batch. It was impossible for them to climb all the way to the top of the mountain in one go. AI. Shi Jingxian sighed and said, Sect Master Jun didn't come. It feels so boring. Palace Master. Li Er said, fortunately, that fellow didn't come. Otherwise, I'm afraid he would have long been paralyzed on the stairs. Although she acknowledged the strength of Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples, it was the first time they had to endure the resistance and climb halfway up the mountain. They must have been exhausted long ago. Shi Jingxian shook her head and said, Sect Master Jun is extraordinary. Maybe climbing the mountain here isn't difficult for him. Lier was completely speechless. They had only interacted a few times, but the palace master was already so concerned about him and had such high hopes for him. Plop. Right then, a martial cultivator who was walking in front sat down on the stairs with his legs wobbly. He panted heavily and said, I can't go on. I have to rest for a while. What a good-for-nothing. The patriarch of the sect was so angry that he blew his beard and glared at his disciple when he saw him collapse first. He did not dare to reprimand too much because he had to endure the pressure of gravity as well. Otherwise, he might not be able to catch his breath and collapse as well. There would be a limit to enduring 5 times the gravity. In the following period of time, more and more martial cultivators collapsed on the ground, unable to bear the pressure and fell behind. Some disciples of the advanced sects were still gritting their teeth and persevering. Even though every step was extremely difficult, they were still trying their best to overcome it and surpass themselves. At this moment, reaching the top of the mountain was no longer for the glory of the sect, but for their own dignity. Patriarch Sunday, Patriarch Wang went up 2 more steps and laughed, There are a lot of disciples from your sect who have fallen behind. It seems that it is not as good as the previous session. Patriarch Song was angry in his heart, but he also said, There are also a lot of disciples from Patriarch Wang who have fallen behind. We are the same. Patriarch Wang said, In my opinion, this time my Azure Water sect will be 1 step ahead of your Blue Jade sect and reach the top of the mountain first. We are only halfway up the road. It is still hard to say who will win. Patriarch Song said and no longer said anything. He put all his thoughts on climbing the mountain, vowing to suppress the Azure Water sect and reach the top first. Patriarch Wang was also the same. This so-called climb was actually a kind of competition. Sects of the same level would definitely not condescend to be inferior to others. Instead, they wanted to prove that they were stronger than the other party. Of course. In this extremely long staircase, the one in the lead was a 4th-rate sect. From the patriarch to the disciples, it was at least 50 to 60 steps away from the 2nd-ranked sect. Don't underestimate this distance. Even if they stopped to rest, it would still take a lot of time for the martial cultivators behind to reach the top while enduring the gravity. Similarly, a 4th-rate sect, the Mystic Flower Palace, had fallen behind many of the 5th-rate sects due to the weakening of their disciples. It couldn't be helped. A female-dominated sect would definitely not be comparable to the male martial cultivators in terms of stamina and endurance. Patriarch. At the front was a personal disciple from the 4th-rate Qianhai sect. He looked back at the martial cultivators who were left far behind and spoke with difficulty, We are finally going to reach the top first. The Qianhai sect's palace master said proudly, As long as there are no 3rd-rate sects involved, we are 90% certain. He had brought his disciples to participate in the Huashan martial discus many times and had reached the top of Huashan as the 2nd-ranked. Even if they lost, it was to the 3rd-rate sections. This time, without the participation of the 3rd-rate sects, they could finally reach the top first. The Qianhai sect might still be in the lead, but they were also affected by the gravity. As they climbed higher, their speed gradually decreased. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, this is more tiring than fighting the beasts for 3 days and 3 nights. The formation on the Huashan staircase is indeed worthy of its reputation. More and more martial cultivators collapsed on the staircase in exhaustion. They took in deep breaths, and their legs felt as heavy as lead. It was difficult for them to continue climbing without resting. At this moment, a martial cultivator at the very end heard footsteps coming from below. He looked up with difficulty. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thud. 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 2, 2, 3, 4. Thud. 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 3, 2, 3, 4. Thud. 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 Oh, my God! The martial cultivator who had fallen behind first and sat paralyzed on the ground, his eyes suddenly became round and round, his 2 ears perked up. Chapter 4:17. When a person was extremely tired and could still make a dumbfounded expression, it meant that he had seen something extremely shocking. The martial cultivator who had fallen behind was now dumbfounded, his eyes filled with disbelief. What did he see? He saw a group of martial cultivators dressed in bright clothes, led by a young man in white who was shouting slogans, taking small steps up the mountain in an orderly manner. Who? Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples. Their movements were synchronized, their expressions did not change, and they looked extremely relaxed. If they had just climbed up the stairs, it would be considered normal, but the key point was that they were now halfway up the mountain. For martial cultivators who could climb up to this point, it was already very difficult for them to climb up each step. Jun Changshao led his disciples and shouted slogans as they stepped up. The scene was absolutely shocking, absolutely unbelievable. The martial cultivator who was paralyzed on the ground tried hard to blink his eyes, making sure that he did not see wrongly. The corner of his mouth twitched as he said, Who is this? 4, 2, 3, 4. At this moment, Jun Changshao led his disciples and walked past them. At such a close distance, one could even see that they had smiles on their faces. They could still smile. Or, could it be that they simply ignored the obstructive force of the array? Shocking, shocking. It deeply disturbed the martial cultivator who had fallen behind first. This was just the beginning. Just 100 steps up, Jun Changshao led his disciples and overtook 30 to 50 martial cultivators who were paralyzed on the ground. My God! Who are they? How can they climb the mountain so quickly? Is it because I'm too tired that I'm hallucinating? The martial cultivators who were overtaken all stared with their eyes wide open. The martial cultivators who were working hard in the front all turned back when they heard the sound of footsteps coming from behind. When they saw Sect leader Jun leading his disciples up the mountain calmly, they almost lost their balance and fell down. Damn it! This is a monster. Jun Changshao originally planned to climb the mountain at a normal speed, but seeing that the martial cultivators at the front were already very close to the peak, he led his disciples to increase their speed. The result? All the disciples of the major sects were completely stunned. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. As the slogan was shouted again and again, the disciples began to climb up the mountain in an orderly manner. Very soon, they had surpassed nearly 60% of the martial cultivators who had climbed the mountain in advance. What was even worse was that after climbing to such a height, Jun Changshao and his disciples only felt a little hot. They were far from sweating and panting. They were used to 10 times the gravity, so walking on the stairs with only 5 times the gravity was like walking on flat ground. At this time, if Jun Changshao gave the order that whoever reached the summit first would be rewarded with natural spirit stones, our Night Emperor would definitely rush up with all his might. More and more martial cultivators heard the commotion and turned their heads to see Iron Bone and the others. Originally, they could still hold on for a while, but in the end, they were so shocked that their minds were in a mess, and they all collapsed to the ground, unable to stand up again. Jun Changshao led his disciples and walked past the crowd one by one. Soon, he had passed 80% of the disciples and was only 400 to 500 steps away from the Hai Qian sect. Lear, who was walking in front, also heard the voice. She felt that it was a little familiar, so she went back with difficulty. The expression on her face froze. It's him. It's Jun Changshao. Sect Master. Li Qingyang said, the people from Miaohua Palace are in front. Jun Changshao also saw them, so he said loudly, disciples, listen up. Increase your speed. Yes. Thump. 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 Li Qingyang and the others increased their speed by a lot. Their legs alternated frequently, and in a short while, they had climbed 40 to 50 steps. The martial cultivators at the back were deeply shocked, and they saw that this group of martial cultivators could still increase their speed and climb so quickly. Li'er. Shi Jingxian said happily, it seems to be Sect Master Jun's voice. Li'er didn't say anything. Seeing Jun Changshao and his disciples climbing up to the top of the mountain had left her in a daze. Earlier, she was still saying that Iron Bone would fall behind if he came. In the end, not only did he not fall behind, but he even caught up with them even though he was a step late. What was this? That's right, he pretended to be cool first and then slapped them in the face. To be honest, Sect Master Jun wasn't deliberately pretending to be cool and slapping them in the face. He just didn't expect that there would be an array at the top of Mount Hua. This kind of gravity pressure is something that my Iron Bone Sect's disciples use to cultivate on a daily basis. If we can't climb up and fall behind others, then it's really unreasonable. Therefore, an invisible act of pretentiousness was the most fatal. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao walked over quickly and walked side by side with Shi Jingxian. He changed to a normal climbing pace and said, there was a traffic jam on the way, so I'm a step late. Traffic jam? Shi Jingxian was confused. Jun Changshao was just casually saying and naturally wouldn't explain. Instead, he smiled and said, there is an array at the top of the stairs, and there is a force of obstruction. Palace Master Shi, are you tired after climbing to this height? The corners of Li'er's mouth twitched slightly. Yes. There is an array, and there is a force of obstruction. But you and your disciples look like you're taking a stroll. Do you have to be so scary? Shi Jingxian said shyly, no, not too tired. Noticing that her breathing was even when she spoke, Jun Changshao said to himself, this woman is not simple. Since you're not tired, why don't you and I climb up first and see how small the mountains are? I'm not tired, but Li'er and the rest are. Because of her eye disease, Shi Jingxian would be a little inconvenient. Without the help of her disciples, it would be very difficult to climb to the top of the mountain. Miss Li'er. Jun Changshao said, I see that you don't look good. I think you're almost at your limit. Why don't you let Jun help Palace Master Shi to the top of Mount Hua? No. No. Li'er firmly objected. However, because she spoke with force, coupled with the previous shock, her legs suddenly went soft and she collapsed on the stairs. Without Li'er's support, Shi Jingxian, who was about to start climbing, suddenly swayed. Swish! Sect leader Jun's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He hurriedly came over and placed his arm on her back in a gentlemanly manner. Palace Master Shi. If you don't mind, how about I help you to the top of the mountain? This, Shi Jingshuan's small face blushed, and she whispered, okay, Palace. Palace Master, Li'er had just opened her mouth with difficulty when Sect leader Jun helped Shi Jingxian up the stairs. In a short while, he pulled away from her. Despicable guy. How dare he take advantage of the Palace Master? Li'er was infuriated, but because of her weak body, she could only watch as Jun Changshao abducted her Palace Master. At the front of the stairs to the top of the mountain, the patriarch and disciples of the Hai Qian sect were still working hard to climb up. Although they were ahead of the other forces, they were under the pressure of the higher gravity. At this moment, they were sweating profusely and their legs were weak. Almost there, almost there. Our Hai Qian sect can finally be the first to reach the top. What belongs to us is ours. No one can take it away. The disciples of the Hai Qian sect gritted their teeth and struggled to climb up. To them, the top of the mountain could be seen clearly. It was a supreme honor. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect was also a little excited. In the past, he had always been at the back, watching the third-rate sects reach the top first. Now, the wheel of fortune had turned, and it was finally his turn. Just as they were about to reach the top, the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect finally couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted loudly, releasing the grievances of being second place in the past few years. Sorry. Suddenly, a voice by his ear interrupted his venting. Please make way. Ga. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect's expression froze, and he looked to the side. In his field of vision, a handsome young man in white was supporting the palace master of the miraculous flower palace, who was an outstanding beauty, as they walked up. Yes. They walked up. And, the kind that was calm and composed. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect was instantly stunned, and 1,000,000,000 alpacas ran wildly in his heart. Can someone tell me, what the fuck is going on? Chapter 4:18. When they were only 30 to 50 steps away from the top of the mountain, the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect estimated that he could reach the top. He couldn't suppress his emotions and shouted to vent his grievances. However, at this moment, Jun Changshao supported Shi Jingxian and walked up the stairs. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect was petrified. His heart relaxed and his body collapsed. He staggered and sat on the stairs weakly. No, impossible. Looking at the man and woman who continued to climb, the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said in disbelief, impossible. He could accept that someone had surpassed him. After all, he had been surpassed by third-rate sects many times in the past. However, that man and woman climbed up as if nothing had happened. This was unacceptable. The disciples of the Hai Qian sect behind them were already paralyzed. Sect leader Jun and palace master Shi had brought them too much shock. They couldn't calm down at all. Tap, tap. After a while, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others climbed up from the side of the Hai Qian sect disciples. Their expressions didn't change. Their bodies were still a little hot. The corners of the Hai Qian sect disciples' mouths twitched violently. Who were these people? They could still be so relaxed when they were about to reach the top of the mountain. The Hai Qian sect, which was originally confident of victory, was surpassed by Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples one by one. They could only continue to watch them reach the top from the perspective of the eternal second place. It could be said that it was tragic. Ta. At the top of the mountain, Jun Changshao supported Shi Jingxian and finally stepped on the smooth stone ground. A slightly cold breeze blew in his face, making him feel very comfortable. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, coming later. You have received 500 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 546150000. Ding! The sect's contribution points are overflowing. Jun Changshao was stunned. This is also considered a hidden mission. Sect leader Jun, Shi Jingxian said, have we reached the top? Yes. Jun Changshao said, not only did we reach the top, but we're also first. Really? Shi Jingxuan's pretty face lit up with happiness. Although she wasn't too obsessed with being the first to reach the top, she was naturally overjoyed to be able to do so. Last time, Shi Jingxian was one step ahead of the others, but the disciples were not strong enough. Now, Jun Changshao could ignore gravity. Not to mention helping her to the summit of Mount Hua, as long as there was no end to the stairs, he could reach the 9 heavens. Men and women were ultimately different. After feeling happy, Shi Jingxian realized that he was still supporting her. She hurriedly withdrew her arm and took 2 steps to the side. Jun Changshao said, Palace Master Shi, Jun only wants to bring you to the summit of Mount Hua. I don't have any improper thoughts. I know. Shi Jingxian said in a low voice. When she thought of how he had supported her all the way up, her cheeks immediately flushed red and hot. She had grown up in the ingenious flower palace, so she had never been so intimate with a man before. Who? Jun Changshao opened his arms and took a deep breath. The air here is fresher than at the foot of the mountain. Shi Jingxian said, I heard that the scenery at the top of the mountain is the most beautiful. Jun Changshao looked up at the sea of clouds in the distance and couldn't help but say, "It's magnificent." After saying that, he suddenly remembered that even if the scenery at the top of the mountain was excellent, Shi Jingxian couldn't see it. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao was afraid that she would be depressed, so he hurriedly changed the topic. "There's a stone platform in front of us. Is it where the sect's martial arts competition is held?" "Yes." Shi Jingxian nodded. Jun Changshao said, "Do you want me to help you over, or do you want to walk over yourself?" Shi Jingxian said with a red face, "I'll walk over myself." As long as the path wasn't too rugged, it wouldn't be too much of a problem for her to walk over. "Please." Jun Changshao followed behind, afraid that she would accidentally trip on a stone. This wasn't the concern between a man and a woman, but because she had an eye disease and was a gentle woman. As a man, he naturally had to take care of her and take responsibility. On the way, Jun Changshao was thinking about whether he should give Shi Jingxian a mid-grade healing pill to try his luck. Forget it. If he couldn't cure her disease and expose the fact that he had a pill that could quickly heal her injuries, then the loss would outweigh the gain. Li Qingyang and the others also climbed up the mountain one after another. They weren't in the mood to look at the scenery and followed behind the sect master. The stone platform was very big. It looked more like a martial arts arena. When they reached the top of the stairs, Sect Master Jun was about to help Shi Jingxian over. "Sect Master." Lu Qianqian walked over and helped Shi Jingxian. She said lightly, "Let me do this kind of thing." "Ah. Okay." Everyone stood on the stone platform that was as smooth as a mirror. Jun Changshao sized it up and said, "Palace Master Shi, what is the purpose of the sect's martial arts competition?" "It's nothing." Shi Jingxian said, "It's just to discuss martial arts together." As expected. How was this a martial arts competition on Mount Hua? This was bragging on Mount Hua. Whoosh whoosh. After about an hour, the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect and a group of disciples reached the peak of Mount Hua with great difficulty. When they saw Jun Changshao and the others standing on the stone platform first, they couldn't help but cry in their hearts. Following that, more sects also came up. And that originally spacious stone platform was now filled with 200 to 300 martial cultivators. If it was in the past, they would have already communicated in private. But now, they were all staring at Jun Changshao, Li Qingyang and the others. Palace Master Shi. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect rested for a while and couldn't help but ask, "Who are these people?" The martial cultivators of the various sects pricked up their ears. They were very curious. Which sect did the group of people who suddenly appeared and reached the peak first come from? Without waiting for Shi Jingxian to introduce them, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Iron Bone Jing sect leader, Jun Changshao." As soon as he said this, the entire place fell silent. The elders of the various sects looked at him in disbelief. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said in surprise, "Is it that Iron Bone Jing sect that brought his disciples to destroy 4 evil sects and scared away the peak of the martial king?" "That's right." Jun Changshao said. Sorry. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said, his heart on the verge of collapse. He originally thought that the person who surpassed him would be a disciple of a large sect, but he didn't expect it to be a sect leader of a 7th-rate sect. The elders of the various sects couldn't keep their faces. During this period of time, they had heard of what the Iron Bone had done and knew that Wu Huang was overseeing it. However, in terms of rank, it was still only a 7th-rate sect. Sect leader Jun, a 5th-rate sect leader said, "In the previous Mount Hua martial arts competition, all the participants were sects and powers. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for you, Iron Bone, to come here? Looks like it's necessary to set up rules to prohibit sects below the 5th rate from participating in the Mount Hua martial arts competition. I've said this before, but you didn't take it seriously at all. It's not that we didn't take it seriously, but we didn't expect that there would really be a sect that overestimated themselves and dared to come to Mount Hua to join in the fun." Everyone spoke one after another. They had a lot of opinions about the Iron Bone coming to Mount Hua martial arts competition. Jun Changshao had already expected this situation. Everyone. He shook his head and said unhurriedly, "You've misunderstood." Misunderstood? Jun Changshao continued, "I didn't come to Mount Hua today to participate in this useless and trashy martial arts competition. I brought my disciples here to see the scenery." Chapter 419. Trash Sparring. Jun Changshao's words immediately angered the elders of the various sections. Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. Is the sect leader trying to stir up trouble? I'm sorry. Jun Changshao said, I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just saying that other than Miaohua Palace, everyone else here is trash. Jiang Ye almost fell over. My sect leader is a bit arrogant. What an arrogant brat. Does he really think that he can show off in front of us after scaring away the elders of the deicide temple? If it weren't for the fact that I'm close to Palace Master Shi, I wouldn't have let a small Iron Bone sect leader like you spout nonsense at the peak of Mount Hua. The elders of the various sects were furious. If it weren't for Jiang Ye's martial king aura, they would have attacked him already. Smack! Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. Xiao Ziji took out a chair and placed it behind him. He sat down elegantly, crossed his legs, and crossed his arms. Mount Hua is an ownerless place. You guys can have your sparring sessions, and I'll enjoy the scenery. Let's not disturb each other. Li Qingyang felt a little dizzy. My dear sect leader, you already said that they're trash. It's unrealistic for them to enjoy the scenery here. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said with a sullen face, the place you're sitting at is where we sparring. If you want to enjoy the scenery, go somewhere else. He was furious that he had been snatched away from him and was reduced to second place. All right. Jun Changshao shrugged and stood up. A bunch of people who only know a little about martial arts are shamelessly discussing martial arts at the peak of Mount Hua. How ridiculous. This guy must have eaten gunpowder today. His mouth is full of bullets. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said coldly, so, sect leader Jun seems to have a deeper understanding of martial arts? Not bad. Jun Changshao said, I'm a little stronger than you guys. The elders of the various sects looked at him with disdain. Really? The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect clasped his hands behind his back and said proudly, I would like to experience sect master Jun's martial arts. Forget it, forget it. Jun Changshao sat down again, and said, I have nothing to do. Today, I will discuss martial arts with all of you big shots. These words, this manner. He really deserved a beating. The reason why Jun Changshao was so arrogant and egotistical was because of the side quest participate in the Huashan Martial Arts Symposium and discuss the Tao of martial arts with the leaders of the various sections. Judging from the behavior of the elders of the various sects, he did not think that he would be allowed to participate in the discussion of martial arts. Thus, he could only infuriate them. Arrogant junior. What profound martial arts attainments do you have at such a young age? Patriarch Lin can ask him any question and he will be left speechless. The elders of the various sects couldn't wait to throw out a bunch of questions about martial arts and turn Jun Changshao into an idiot. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect naturally could not tolerate this young junior being so arrogant, and said coldly, Sect leader Jun, I have a lot of questions about martial arts, and would like to ask you for guidance today. No problem. Jun Changshao crossed his legs again and placed his hands on top of them. With a look of arrogance, he said, however, a person's ability is always limited. What I am good at is martial arts mental cultivation method. The elders of the various sects all sneered. Most of the questions about martial arts were related to the mental cultivation method of martial arts. A guy who hadn't even grown hair was good at it. Then please teach me your martial arts mental cultivation method. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect took out a rather brand new secret manual and said proudly, during this period of time, I have studied a palm technique. It is estimated that there are a total of 9 moves, but I have only comprehended the first 5 moves. I hope that sect leader June can help me perfect it. The elders of the various sects looked at him with admiration. In the Falling Star continent, to be able to create a palm technique, one could definitely be considered a martial arts master. If one's level was higher, one would definitely be a martial arts master. Moreover, not everyone could create their own martial technique, even if it was of the lowest grade. Jun Changshao said, I will reluctantly give you some pointers. This was truly arrogant. The amount of hatred he pulled was also very high. The elders of the various sects couldn't wait to surround him and throw out all sorts of martial arts problems, suppressing him to the point that he couldn't breathe. Sect leader Jun, the Upper Qian sect, threw over the secret manual and said indifferently, please. Jun Changshao caught it, and when he flipped to the first page, the middle-grade insight talisman in the space ring was formed, and a gush of profound martial arts instantly filled his sea of consciousness. After flipping through a few pages, he said, to be able to create such an early middle-rank palm technique, your understanding of martial arts is not bad. What? Early middle rank? Patriarch Lin's martial arts attainments are high. The elders of the various sects all began to admire him. A mid-grade martial arts was not something that an ordinary martial arts master could comprehend. Patriarch Lin's participation in the martial arts symposium this time was to show off his semi-finished martial arts to show off. Everything was as he had expected. When the elders of the various sects learned about this palm technique, their eyes revealed admiration. However, Patriarch Lin was not in the mood to enjoy the pleasure of showing off. Instead, he thought to himself in surprise, this child can casually flip through the pages and see through the rank. Could it be that he really has some skills? Patriarch Lin, right? Jun Changshao flipped back to the first page, and said, although this palm technique is an early middle rank, your first move has a huge flaw. Even if you have comprehended it successfully, its power is only at the mortal rank. Impossible. Patriarch Lin vowed, I have studied the first move for more than half a year, it is impossible for there to be any flaws. Sect leader Jun, if you don't understand, then don't speak nonsense. A sect elder said indifferently. Patriarch Lin has already created many mortal rank martial arts. If there is really a problem, how can he not see it? Everyone looked at him with disdain. Obviously, they did not think that Patriarch Lin's palm technique was flawed. Jun Changshao ignored everyone's sarcasm and pointed at the circulation meridian map. If you adjust these 2 meridians, the flaws can be easily solved. Changing the meridians randomly, aren't you afraid of going mad? If you don't have the ability to point out the flaws, then you are a scourge. With Patriarch Lin's understanding of martial arts, he will definitely refute this. The elders of the various sects whispered and looked at Jun Changshao with gloating eyes. They were waiting for the patriarch of the Shengqian sect to use more advanced martial arts to slap his face. However, Patriarch Lin came over and looked at the 2 areas that Jun Changshao pointed at. He was stunned at first, then fell silent. After a while, a trace of understanding appeared in his eyes. His martial arts attainment was not bad, and he liked to study martial arts when he had nothing to do. Naturally, he could analyze the changes in these 2 points more comprehensively. I see. Patriarch Lin's brain turned and he suddenly understood, I see. This, the elders of the various sects saw that he seemed to have woken up from a dream and thought to themselves in astonishment. Could it be that this guy really pointed out the flaws in the martial arts technique with just a few blind pointers? Jun Changshao turned to the second page and pointed at the 2 flaws. Patriarch Lin, if you make a slight adjustment here, the power of the second move will be greatly increased. Patriarch Lin fell silent. After a while, a look of understanding appeared on his face and he even nodded subconsciously, that makes sense, that makes sense. Jun Changshao flipped to the next few pages and pointed out the flaws in the palm technique one by one, and gave his own suggestions and opinions. Patriarch Lin, who was confident in the martial arts technique he created, sometimes fell silent, sometimes became enlightened, as if he had opened a door and entered a whole new world of martial arts. Sect leader Jun. When he finally understood, he cupped his hands in respect and said, "You are truly a martial arts master." Chapter 420. The path of martial arts was broad and profound. Sometimes, inadvertent changes could play a crucial role. Jun Chengxiao's guidance seemed casual, but it was actually profound and exquisite. It made the palm technique more perfect and outstanding. Of course. In this world, there might be stronger martial arts masters who could modify martial arts techniques to the extreme from another perspective. After Patriarch Lin analyzed it carefully, he was immediately filled with admiration for Jun Chengxiao. He only made some small changes to the details, but it made the entire palm technique sublime. This was something he could never do. The elders of the various sects, who were expecting Patriarch Lin to use his profound martial arts to refute and slap his face, turned ugly when they heard him call Jun Chengxiao a martial arts master. It turned out that they were the ones who were slapped in the face. Patriarch Lin. One of the elders said, "Sect Master Jun only improved the moves you comprehended. He didn't deduce the rest of the palm technique." This, Patriarch Lin approved of Jun Chengxiao's understanding of martial arts. He was able to point out the flaws of the palm technique he created with just a few words. But when he handed over the secret manual, he also said that he hoped to comprehend the rest of the moves. Everyone. Patriarch Lin said, "The derivation of the rest of the moves is not something that can be done overnight. Sect Master Jun has already proven himself by pointing out the flaws of the first few moves." Everyone fell silent. What else could they say when the fourth-rate Patriarch Qian sect said so? Patriarch Lin. Jun Chengxiao said, "It won't take long for me to comprehend the rest of the palm technique." Patriarch Lin's expression froze. He gave him a way out, but he didn't take it. Instead, he continued to climb up. "Humph," one of the elders said indifferently, "Sect Master Jun, aren't you afraid that the wind at the peak of Mount Hua will cut your tongue? We want to see how Sect Master Jun will comprehend the rest of the moves." The elders of the various sects, who were originally planning to beat the drum and retreat, saw that he jumped out to show off again. Naturally, they continued to attack. Jun Chengxiao said, "Let this seat think for a while." "How long is this a while?" a big shot asked. Everyone's time was precious. If he spent 3 to 5 days studying it, it would be a little troublesome. "Not much." Jun Cheng smiled and said, "Just a quarter of an hour." 15 minutes. Everyone's eyes were filled with intense disdain. This kid looks young, but his ability to brag is quite strong. Patriarch Lin was stunned. "Sect Master Jun, I spent several months studying the fifth move of the palm technique. Are you sure you only need a quarter of an hour to deduce the sixth move?" Jun Chengxiao said, "What I mean is, deduce all the moves that can be developed in the future in 15 minutes. Patriarch Lin's mouth twitched. It was already impossible to deduce the sixth move in a quarter of an hour, let alone deduce all the other moves. Was he kidding? Since that's the case, we'll wait quietly for Sect Master Jun. After a quarter of an hour, we'll deduce the follow-up moves of the martial arts created by Patriarch Lin." The elders of the various sects sneered. Did this guy think that he had some ability and could really soar to the heavens? Jun Chengxiao began to think seriously. His brain cells worked crazily, forming intricate patterns in his sea of consciousness. These patterns were like martial cultivators, repeating the palm technique's mnemonic chant and meridians. If Jun Chengxiao was given a blank piece of paper and asked to draw a picture on it, it was absolutely impossible. However, if there was a half-finished picture on the paper, he could use the mid-grade insight talisman to repair the lines and finally complete the picture. This was the meaning of studying Patriarch Lin's palm technique. As long as someone started, the follow-up moves would definitely be able to follow. Whoosh! After a while, after tens of thousands of derivations, Jun Changshao turned his right hand, gathered spiritual energy in his palm, and suddenly cut through the void. Patriarch Lin. He said, "This is the sixth move." Seeing this, Patriarch Lin's eyes were immediately filled with astonishment. Jun Changxiao's seemingly ordinary attack just now contained the power of the purest yang. It was obviously compatible with the palm technique he created. Could it be that, did he really comprehend the sixth move? Whoosh! At this moment, Jun Changxiao gathered spiritual energy again and performed an extremely powerful palm technique, condensing a faint palm print in midair. He said, "This is the seventh move." Bang! Bang! Then, the figure in his sea of consciousness continued to perform and overlap, performing the eighth move and the ninth move in succession. The power of the two palms continued to increase, and the spiritual energy that spread out was emitting the purest yang aura. Patriarch Lin was dumbfounded. When he carefully recalled the 4 moves he performed in succession just now, he found that these moves were perfectly compatible with his previous 5 moves. They were definitely not performed casually. "Give me a pen," Jun Changxiao said. Xiao Ziji handed over a pen and ink. Jun Changxiao first thought for a while, then quickly wrote on the last few blank pages of the secret manual. Soon, the next 4 moves were written in the secret manual. Not only were the moves and the circulation of the meridians recorded, there were also quite detailed annotations. Whoosh! Jun Changxiao threw the completed secret manual of the palm technique over and said, "Patriarch Lin, please take a look." The leaders of the various sects were a bit confused. Did he really comprehend it, or did he just draw something casually in an attempt to bluff his way through? Patriarch Lin hurriedly flipped through the secret manual. When he saw the 6th move, he was deeply immersed in it and could not extricate himself. The move, the circulation of the meridians, and the various annotations shocked him. His hands that were holding the secret manual began to tremble. The 6th move that Jun Changxiao created was perfectly compatible with the previous 5 moves. It was even impeccable. Even if Patriarch Lin could comprehend it and create it, he would never have thought that the subsequent palm technique could be structured and played in such a way. In one word, perfect. In 2 words, perfect to the extreme. Patriarch Lin, who could not calm down, flipped through the remaining 3 moves one after another. The inspiration and shock he received was very intense. The leaders of the various sects could see from his facial expression and the changes in his eyes that the 4 moves that Jun Changxiao created were definitely not drawn casually. Could it be that this guy really had the ability to complete the half-completed palm technique in less than a quarter of an hour? This was too shocking. Even if it was the lowest level palm technique, it was extremely difficult to deduce the subsequent moves in such a short time. Others might not be able to do it, but Jun Changxiao could. Because he had the talisman of insight, and because he confidently turned on a cheat. Sect Master Lin closed the secret manual and cupped his fists in the most sincere tone. Sect Master Jun's understanding of martial arts is truly admirable. He was convinced. He was convinced to prostrate himself in admiration. Jun Changxiao said, "The path of martial arts is unpredictable. Perhaps there are strong people who can create moves that are even more profound than Jun's." Obtaining the recognition of the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect meant that half of the side mission was completed. Naturally, there was no need to force others. When it was time to keep a low profile, it was time to keep a low profile. Patriarch Lin shook his head and said, "In my opinion, the 4 moves that Sect Master Jun deduced are absolutely perfect. No one in the world can compare to them." Chapter 421. When Jun Changxiao taught them the first few moves of the palm technique, the elders of the various sects thought that the other party was just lucky. It wasn't until the later moves of the palm technique were completed that they realized that the other party was really strong. No one in the world could compare to him. Patriarch Lin's high evaluation made them realize that the other party's strength was definitely not ordinary. Patriarch Lin, you flatter me, Jun Changshao said modestly. At this time, even if he wasn't arrogant and didn't forcefully attract hatred, the elders of the various sects would definitely actively discuss martial arts with him. As expected. A sect elder who had remained silent all this time cupped his hands and said, "This old man is cultivating a mental cultivation technique. Because I can't understand it to a higher level, I hope sect leader Jun can give me some pointers." Jun Changshao said, "We are all people of the pugilistic world, and we are discussing martial arts on Mount Hua. Naturally, I am willing to give you some pointers." The corners of Jiang Ye and Li Qingyang's mouths twitched. Didn't he just say that he came to Mount Hua to see the scenery? Now that he was going to give pointers to the sect elders, wasn't it the same as participating in the sect's martial arts discussion? Nonsense. If I don't participate in the sect's martial arts discussion and discuss martial arts with them, how the hell am I going to complete the side mission? The sect elder whose strength had reached the peak of Wuzong secretly told Jun Changshao about the mental cultivation technique that had puzzled him for many years. TSK. What he cultivated was a high-grade mental cultivation technique. If he and the sect didn't have a divine mental cultivation technique like the body metamorphosis scripture, Jun Changshao would definitely learn it and throw it into the technique pavilion for the disciples to cultivate. After comprehending it for a while, sect leader Jun explained it to the sect leader. The sect leader was enlightened and enlightened. Sigh. After a while, he said rather shamefully, "This old man cultivated for more than 10 years and actually didn't discover such a simple problem." Jun Changshao said, "The onlooker sees more clearly than the person involved." The patriarch cupped his hands and said, "Sect leader Jun's explanation has benefited this old man greatly." Sect master Jun, the patriarch of the Upper Qian sect, who had just recovered from the palm technique, said, "I also have a martial arts problem that I hope you can answer." "No problem." Sect leader Jun, who was using a cheat, naturally hoped that the big shots of the various sects would voice out their questions. Because this was absolutely in line with the mission's conditions. The middle-grade insight talisman lasted for 60 minutes. Jun Changshao stood on the stone platform and gave pointers to the elders of the various sects for 60 minutes. It could be said that he didn't reject anyone. During this period of time, many disciples from other sects asked questions. After they received answers, they all fell silent. They were all impressed by sect leader Jun's profound martial arts. Because there were too many people, there were also too many problems. A single intermediate insight talisman was definitely not enough to solve all of them. Jun Changshao crushed another piece of paper and continued to enlighten them. Speaking of which, it was strange. The effect of the second talisman was about to dissipate. Most of the people had discussed martial arts with him, but the side quest just couldn't be completed. Could it be that everyone here has to discuss before the mission is completed? Jun Changshao muttered in his heart. Sect leader Jun, at this moment, Shi Jingxian, who was standing at the side, said, "I also have a martial arts problem that I would like to consult with you." He had asked all the elders of the various sects who had participated in the Huashan Martial Arts Symposium, but she was the only one who had not spoken. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "Based on my friendship with Palace Master Shi, I can ask you 10 times, let alone one." Shi Jingshuan's face immediately turned red. Obviously, she had a slight misunderstanding of the word friendship. When the elders of the various sects saw the palace master of Miaohua Palace blushing and remembered how Jun Changshao helped her up the mountain peak, they secretly guessed that the two of them had an extraordinary relationship. The man was handsome and valiant. The woman was an outstanding beauty. The two of them were both sect leaders, and they were a talented man and a beautiful woman. They could be considered a match made in heaven. The funniest thing in the world was that Jun Changshao was still single based on his strength, and a group of people were helping him to get out of it with their fantasies. It was believed that many readers were worried sick about sect leader Jun's marriage. Shi Jingxian told him about the martial arts problem that troubled her. She also talked about a mental cultivation method called the dust-smoke eye barrier technique. A woman with an eye disease cultivating a mental cultivation method that covered her eyes with dust and smoke was really a bit fucked up. However, when Jun Changshao began to comprehend and deduce, he suddenly understood. This was a special mental cultivation method. Only martial cultivators who could truly see everything could comprehend it to the extreme. Even if Jun Changshao could use the insight talisman to easily spy on it, it would be difficult for him to cultivate it perfectly. Unless he went to the extreme and poked his eyes blind. He would explore the more profound mysteries in the true darkness. It had the meaning of, if you want to cultivate this technique, you must first castrate yourself. Shi Jingxian was born with an eye disease, so it was undoubtedly the most suitable for her to cultivate the dust-smoke eye barrier technique. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao was silent for a moment before saying, although this mental cultivation method is profound and unfathomable, you can't be too hasty when cultivating it. Otherwise, it's easy to go berserk. As for your confusion, in Jun's opinion, it's just that you want to comprehend a higher level too much, so you can't calm down and figure it out properly. Shi Jingxian said, I've been trying to figure it out for a long time. Jun Changshao said in a low voice, this mental cultivation method needs to be done step by step, and secondly, it needs to be cultivated with the heart. Palace Master Shi just needs to grasp these 2 points, and sooner or later, you will comprehend it to the extreme. I understand. Shi Jingxian smiled brightly and said, thank you, Sect Leader Jun, for your explanation. Understand? To be honest, she didn't really understand. But since it was Sect Leader Jun who said it, she would definitely remember it in her heart and cultivate it more carefully according to the 2 points. Ding! Side mission completed. Obtained 1,000 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 64615,000. Ding! Overflow of contribution points. No wonder it hadn't been completed. It turned out that he hadn't discussed martial arts with Shi Jingxian. Everyone. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, this seat has given you all pointers. I'll take my disciples to see the scenery first. He didn't want to participate in the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium from the start. Now that the mission was completed, he didn't want to stay here for even a second. After all, there was no point in doing anything other than acting cool. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect said, Sect Leader Jun's martial arts are broad and profound. Your disciples must have benefited a lot. I hope to see it for myself. How? Jun Changshao asked. Patriarch Lin cupped his hands and said, my sect's disciples and your sect's disciples will have a friendly exchange of pointers. It wasn't a provocation. He really wanted to see what the Iron Bone disciples were capable of under sect leader Jun's guidance. This, Jun Changshao definitely didn't want to waste time with fighting chapters. So, he opened his mouth to refuse. But before he could open his mouth, a notification sounded. Ding! Side mission activated. Why is it here again? He opened the sect's system panel. The mission was, bring disciples to the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium and exchange pointers with the disciples of the various sects, incomplete. Fuck. The more I don't want to play, the more I have to play. This must be on purpose. The system said, the host can bring disciples away. At most, the mission will fail. Scram. Jun Changshao cursed in his heart. Then, he cupped his hands and said, if that's the case, then let's exchange pointers. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others' eyes burned with passion. The participants of the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium were all 4th and 5th-rate sections. Many of their disciples were quite strong. They naturally wanted to fight with them. The system said, the falling star continent's most authoritative genius rankings are divided into heaven, earth, and man. Heaven is the highest, and man is the lowest. The younger generation who can enter the rankings, even if they are the lowest ranked, are considered the most outstanding geniuses in the continent. I see. Jun Changshao asked, am I on the list? The system said, only young disciples and loose cultivators can enter this list. Although the host meets the age requirement to enter the list, because the host is the leader of a sect, he is not included. Fuck. Jun Changshao cursed inwardly. For this kind of otherworldly genius list, if he couldn't enter, it was equivalent to losing a huge point to act tough. He said unwillingly, is there a sect leader list? Since he couldn't participate in the Gathering of Heroes list, Jun Changshao definitely hoped that there would be a sect leader list, and then win the Best Sect Leader award and go on stage to give an acceptance speech. The system said, there is no sect leader list in the Falling Star continent, but there is a Gathering of Heroes list that includes many forces. According to their overall strength, they will be evaluated regularly. Is that so? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up, and said, has Iron Bone entered the Gathering of Heroes list? You ask me, but who should I ask? The system only collected a lot of information about the Falling Star continent. As for the forces on the list, it definitely didn't know. However, it habitually poured cold water on him. With Iron Bone's current level and overall strength, it is really wishful thinking for him to enter the Gathering of Heroes list. Jun Changshao was silent for a while, then waved his hand and said, Xingqian, go and fight with this Upper Qian sect disciple. Shua. Yi Xingqian strode forward. After replacing Li Qingyang, he looked at Jiang Shenxi with disdain and said, rank 89, very trashy. The corners of the mouth of the big shots of the various sects twitched. A martial cultivator who could enter the Gathering of Heroes list was extremely talented. This Iron Bone disciple actually said that he was trash. That was really arrogant. If they knew that in his previous life, Yi Xingqian, who had just turned 20, had already been promoted to the top 20 of the Heaven series, they wouldn't think that it was arrogance. There was a minimum age limit for the inclusion of the Gathering of Heroes list, and there was also a maximum age limit. During the period when Night Emperor was on the list, the best ranking was no higher than the 9th of the Heaven series. Although his age exceeded the limit and he was automatically kicked out of the list, this didn't stop him from becoming the supreme martial emperor of the Falling Star continent. And those geniuses who occupied a higher ranking either fell or reached the limit, hovering around the level of Wu Huang and Wu Sheng. Of course. It was also one of Yi Xingqian's biggest regrets in his previous life that he didn't reach the age limit to reach the top of the Heaven series. Now that he heard the crowd mention the Gathering of Heroes list, it reminded him. He had regrets in his previous life. He would make up for it in this life. Yi Xingqian, will definitely reach the top of the Gathering of Heroes list. Whoosh whoosh. In an instant, a majestic aura of, who else but me in this world, emerged from Night Emperor's body. Jiang Shenxi, who was called Trash, felt the anger between his eyebrows at a close distance, and the anger between his eyebrows was immediately replaced by caution. This person was very strong. Yi Xingqian gently raised his head and said with an unruly look, don't waste time, hurry up and make your move. Shua. Jiang Shenxi immediately released his cultivation of a 9th-grade martial master and then rushed over with his movement technique. Whoosh spiritual power condensed and shot out a stream of light like a rainbow piercing the sun. Bang! Yi Xingqian took a step forward and punched out with a powerful iron fist, directly shattering the stream of light. Then, he used the cloud-treading steps and launched the most explosive normal attack. Martial arts? He had many tricks up his sleeve. It wouldn't be a problem to use 2 or 3 fancy moves. He chose the most straightforward close combat because he wanted to test the results of his training in the Tower of Trials during this period of time. Very strong, very valiant. When he launched a direct bombardment, Jiang Shenxi could only dodge and didn't dare to face it head-on. This iron bone disciple's strength was too strong. Once he was hit, it would definitely be a crazy bombardment. Myriad Spirit Finger. Jiang Shenxi constantly changed his position and gathered finger lights, attacking from various angles in an attempt to restrain the opponent. Unfortunately, one person's strength could overcome 10 people's techniques. No matter how fancy his moves were, no matter how his streams of light flew around, Yi Xingqian's left and right fists repeatedly destroyed them one by one. That was called valiant. The corners of the elder's mouths twitched slightly. This iron bone disciple's cultivation was only a 7th grade martial master, but he was fighting so boldly in front of a 9th grade martial master. He was truly reckless. Boom! Yi Xingqian once again broke through Jiang Shenxi's spiritual power martial arts in a domineering manner. Taking advantage of his opponent's weakness, his right fist turned into a knife and he immediately executed several self-chops. Boom! 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 The stone platform exploded, and spiritual power and dust immediately spread out. Chapter 423. On the stone platform, the dust and spiritual energy gradually dissipated. Jiang Shenxi's figure appeared. His hands were clasped together in a defensive posture. His expression was rather ugly. The few self-slashes that Yi Xingqian performed in an instant were not only powerful, but they also happened to take advantage of his weakness. He only managed to block one of them. This kind of vigorous and powerful spiritual energy was quite painful when it hit the body. If Jiang Shenxi was not extremely talented and had specially trained his physical strength, he would have been sent flying by now. No. This guy's body was tough and his spiritual energy was vigorous. It would be difficult to win against him. If it were Li Qingyang or Xiao Ziji, Jiang Shenxi could rely on his cultivation and spiritual root to win. However, facing an opponent like Yi Xingqian who had both strength and martial arts experience, there was almost no chance of winning. It was no exaggeration to say that. At this time, even if he was a peak martial master, he would not have an advantage. Yi Xingqian, who was only a 7th grade martial master after cultivating in iron bone for so long, could definitely be considered an invincible existence in the martial master realm. Unless the opponent had a divine spiritual root and could absolutely suppress him in terms of aptitude. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian did not want to waste time and attacked again. His physical strength had been tested. He did not want to fight in close combat, so he changed to using self-slash as his main attack method. This kind of low-consumption and high-power martial arts technique was used to the extreme by Night Emperor. At the beginning, Jiang Shenxi could still rely on his body movement to dodge. Now that he was facing the long-range bombardment of spiritual energy, it was destined to be a tragedy. Swoosh! 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 The crescent-shaped flowing light kept shooting at him from tricky angles. Wherever it passed, faint traces of spiritual energy were left behind. Boom! 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 Jiang Shenxi was tired of dodging, but because there were too many of them, he could only use his hands to protect his vital parts and let the flowing light attack him from all directions. Thump! Thump! His body was heavily bombarded and he kept retreating. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian appeared in front of Jiang Shenxi and said in a superior manner, "Go down." Whoosh! He used the rupturing fist and a gust of wind whistled. Boom! Jiang Shenxi didn't have time to dodge at all and was directly hit in the chest. She staggered back and finally fell off the stone platform and sat on the ground. The mouths of the elders of the various sects twitched violently. Just like that, the genius ranked 89th on the human branch was completely defeated by an iron bone disciple. Too strong, too terrifying. Who? Jiang Shenxi took a deep breath and cupped his hands with difficulty. Thank you for showing mercy. He knew that his opponent had held back a lot of his strength in that punch. Otherwise, he would have been injured and spat out blood. Yi Xingqian swept his gaze over the disciples of the various sects and said proudly, "Are there any martial cultivators who have not entered the Assembly of Heroes list? If there are, come out and fight with me." These words were very arrogant. Unfortunately, out of so many sect disciples, only Jiang Shenxi had entered the Gathering of Heroes roll. There were 100 heaven, 100 earth, and 100 human geniuses. There were only 300 geniuses on the list. Based on the population of the Starfall continent, the number of people who could enter the Starfall continent was unimaginably small. However, Jiang Shenxi, who had a divine spiritual root, was only ranked 89th on the human branch. This showed that the geniuses on the higher levels were definitely very powerful. Thousands of years ago, in the same era as Yi Xingqian, the genius ranked first on the heaven branch had a divine spiritual root and was a peak martial king before he left the list. At the age of 18, he was qualified to enter the list. At the age of 30, he automatically left the list. In other words, the genius ranked first on the heaven branch had a strength that was infinitely close to Wu Huang's before he reached the age of 30. This was very terrifying. Although Elder Jiang was only 25 or 26, he was only a rank 2 martial king. Even if he increased his rank by 1 every year, he would not be a peak martial king when he reached the age of 30. Nothing. Yi Xingqian walked down from the stone platform in disappointment. Ding. Side mission completed. You have received 1,000 contribution points. Ding. Contribution points, 7461500. Ding. Contribution points overflow. Not counting the missions he completed on the way, he had received 2,500 contribution points in Mount Hua alone. Jun Changshao must be very happy. Everyone. He cupped his hands and said, "Is there anyone else who wants to spar?" The elders of the various sects fell silent. Sparring was based on the situation of equal strength. If one knew that he was going to be abused and still wanted to fight, it was not sparring. It was deliberately making a fool of himself. Therefore, when the Iron Bone disciple defeated the human branch genius Jiang Shenxi, the elders of the various sects would not send their disciples to spar. If there is no one else. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "I'll take my disciples to enjoy the scenery." Go, go. With you here, we can't show off at all. Sect leader Jun and his disciples appearing on Mount Hua was an unsolvable bug. Everyone. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Goodbye." Then, he waved his sleeves and left the stone platform with Li Qingyang and the others. Sect leader Jun, Shi Jingxian shouted, "Can you take me to enjoy the scenery?" "Sure." Jun Changshao said straightforwardly. After the people of Iron Bone and Miaohua Palace left, the elders of the various sects shook their heads. This was supposed to be a stage for everyone to show off, but that guy had stolen the limelight. How could they be in the mood to discuss martial arts? Looking at Jun Changshao's departing figure, the patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said with a solemn expression, "Sect leader Jun has a deep understanding of martial arts. Iron Bone's future achievements are immeasurable." That's right. Many elders agreed. If the sect leader was strong, the disciples would be strong. Sooner or later, the sect would become strong. In my opinion. The patriarch of the Hai Qian sect said, "In less than 300 years, Iron Bone will become a famous sect. With such a strong martial arts attainment, Iron Bone can become a third-rate sect." After the martial arts discussion at the peak of Mount Hua, the elders of the various sects admired Jun Changshao and thought highly of him. He would definitely achieve great things in the future. The prerequisite was that he could not die halfway. The Falling Star continent never lacked talented geniuses, but there were very few who could truly become an overlord. Sect leader Jun, Shi Jingxian sat quietly on a huge rock and said, "I didn't expect you to have such a deep understanding of martial arts." Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "It's useless to have a high level of martial arts. It's more important to have a high level of martial arts." Shi Jingxian smiled and said, Sect leader Jun has such a deep understanding of martial arts. It's just a matter of time before you reach a higher level of martial arts. That's right. Jun Changshao said confidently, many people are stronger than me because they started cultivating earlier. As long as I have time, I will definitely surpass them one by one and even become a martial emperor. Martial emperor? Shi Jingxian was stunned and said, Sect leader Jun is so ambitious. As the leader of a fourth-rate sect, she had fantasized about what level she could break through in the future. However, she only thought about Wu Huang and Wu Sheng. She never thought about becoming a martial emperor. Because to achieve such an achievement, not only did one have to have extremely high martial arts aptitude, but also great luck. Jun Changshao said, only with great ambition will there be motivation. Then I will congratulate sect leader Jun first. In the future, you will become a martial emperor revered by thousands. Shi Jingxian smiled and said, Thank you. Jun Changshao looked at the sky and said, It's getting late. I still have to bring the disciples back to the sect. I will take my leave first. Hua Mountain's scenery is so beautiful. Sect leader Jun, why don't you stay for a few more days before leaving? Shi Jingxian said with a slight disappointment. The scenery can be enjoyed at any time. The sect's matters must be dealt with as soon as possible. Jun Changshao said. Yes. The scenery could be enjoyed at any time. But it was hard to say whether it could be like now, with beautiful girls accompanying him. All right. Shi Jingxian said, I hope there will be a chance in the future to discuss martial arts with sect leader Jun for chapters. P.S. When I'm busy, I pretend I didn't see anything. If I don't update, there will be readers who will jump out and show off their existence. I'll fucking slap their faces today. There will be a 5th chapter later. Chapter 424. Jun Changshao left with his disciples. They left in such a hurry because they wanted to find a quiet place where they could comfortably open the system store and spend all their contribution points. Sigh. Shi Jingxian sighed and said, Leader, let's go back. Although she wanted to chat more with Jun Changshao, he was busy and didn't give her a chance. Palace Master. On the way, Leader said, Why do you care so much about him? Shi Jingxian said, Li-er, do you know? Every time I'm with sect leader Jun, I feel very relaxed as long as I hear him talk. Li-er probed, Palace Master, you can't have fallen for him, right? No, no. Shi Jingxian hurriedly said, her face turning red. Li-er was speechless, My Palace Master, the expression on your face has already betrayed you. Shi Jingxian hurriedly explained, I just feel that he is very interesting, that's all. The more you explain, the more you try to hide it. Li-er muttered in her heart. Speaking of which, what was so good about that guy? He had only interacted with the Palace Master a few times and she was already worried about him. He was very handsome, humorous, and occasionally a little naughty. More importantly, his martial arts attainments were also high. Miss Li-er, why can't your Palace Master she worry about our sect leader Jun? In a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. The Hurricane Wolf King led a few hurricane wolves to drink water and rest at a small stream. Whoosh, a faint sound of wind breaking could be heard. In a forest in the distance, a goat eating grass was killed by Xiao Ziji with his 88 sniper rifle. During this period of time, although he neglected to practice his gun, his marksmanship was still very accurate. Shua. Li Qingyang skillfully skinned the meat and began to roast it. Lu Qianqian and Yi Xingqian were still cold and aloof. They couldn't integrate into the beautiful environment at all. Jun Changshao sat on a tree happily and pulled out the intermediate system store. He definitely had to spend the extra 2,461 contribution points. Otherwise, it would be automatically emptied after 24 hours. Sect leader June had only seen the 7 profound sunglow broken scroll in the 3rd row when he had spent 100 contribution points to refresh the store. Thus, there were still many items that he hadn't seen yet. As he continued reading, Jun Changshao saw the formula for a type of medium-grade cloud walking boots. According to the introduction, this was a type of boots that could increase one's speed. After wearing it, one's speed would increase by 10% when walking normally, and 20% when using a movement technique. The disadvantage was that it could only be worn by martial masters and above. Otherwise, even if one wore it, there would not be any increase in speed. This thing is good, Jun Changshao said. High movement speed was also a reflection of one's strength, especially when facing enemies. Not only could it be used to catch them off guard, but it could also be used to dodge attacks with ease. Furthermore, disciples like Su Xiaoma and Li Fei were all speed-type martial cultivators. If they wore the cloud-walking shoes, their strength would definitely increase by a lot. Bye. Ding. The host has spent 1,000 contribution points and received the recipe for the middle-grade cloud-walking boots X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 6461500. After buying it, the formula was automatically matched and presented in the forging pavilion. Jun Changshao opened it and found that the main material required was the wind element crystal core, and the supplementary materials were spider silk and beast fur. Ever since his trip to the 10,000 Beast Mountain range, he lacked all kinds of crystal cores, but he did not lack wind element crystal cores. He also had spider silk and fur, so he hurriedly increased the number of refinement to the maximum and began to mechanically refine them. He continued to look at the shopping mall. Very quickly, Jun Changshao saw another secret manual called Mountain Collapsing Earth Shattering Fist. From the introduction, the power of this fist technique was extremely fierce. If one comprehended it to the extreme, one punch would be able to shatter mountains and split the earth. The quality was high rank. TSK. Jun Changshao muttered, "Is this the upgraded version of Exploding Fist?" Ding. Host has spent 1,000 contribution points and obtained the Mountain Collapsing Earth Shattering Fist X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 5461500. After buying it, the system automatically matched it with the Sect's technique. Sect leader Jun did not hesitate and chose the Mountain Collapsing Earth Shattering Fist. He spent 50 contribution points and copied 5,000 copies. He continued to look. In the end, there were no more decent products. Jun Changshao was not depressed. After all, he had spent 100 contribution points and obtained the formula for the Talisman of Insight, 7 Mysterious Sunglow Break, and the Fist Technique. It was definitely better than the beginner's shop. I have obtained the title of Chivalrous Warrior. My luck has increased from 1 to 5. I can also try my luck and see if I can get better things. Jun Changshao muttered as he tapped on the beginner's shop. He had a lot of contribution points now, but he would not be so impulsive as to test it in the intermediate shop. So, he decided to start from the beginner shop. The system complained, "Look at the hosts, I'm happy, shut up." Jun Changshao said as he opened the shop. A brand new product appeared. Just looking at the first row, he was extremely excited. Gun. Another gun. Moreover, it was a modified AK-47 automatic rifle. Ahahaha. Jun Changshao laughed heartily. Although the AK-47 single-point power was not comparable to the Type 88 sniper rifle, it had the advantage of having more bullets and being able to shoot continuously. Especially at close range, if the Type 88 couldn't break the opponent's defense in one shot, the AK-47's continuous damage would definitely be stronger. If they were to equip each of their disciples with an AK-47, even a martial king might not be able to withstand it. Moreover, it was not expensive. It was only 100 contribution points. The use of the word only was enough to show that sect leader Jun didn't care about 100 contribution points at all. He didn't know that when he first got the system, he had to spend 10 points to copy secret manuals. It was a pity. There was a limit to the purchase of the modified AK-47. He could only buy 5 of them per month. Ding! Host has spent 500 contribution points. You have obtained a modified AK-47 automatic rifle X5. It has been transferred into the interspatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 49115000. Jun Changshao let out a sigh of relief when his contribution points fell to a safe level. He then spent another 100 points from the items he had purchased and bought 5 universal extended magazines. He took out the AK-47. After changing the magazine, he took out the 5th grade core and loaded the bullets. Shio! After a while, all 40 bullets were loaded. 40 streams of light appeared on both sides of the magazine. I've sinned. Jun Changshao shouted, come and test the gun. Okay. Xiao Ziji ate the skewers and walked over while clapping his hands. When he saw the AK-47, he said in surprise, Sect leader, isn't this gun a bit small? Don't look at its small size. Its power is not weak. Jun Changshao said. Oh. Xiao Ziji took it. Because he suffered from the AWM sniper rifle last time, he learned his lesson this time. Before shooting, he lay down on the grass. Jun Changshao said, just stand and shoot. Oh. Xiao Ziji stood up and started to shoot. He chose a stone wall 100 meters in front of him and pressed the trigger. 2. The muzzle of the AK-47 continuously spat out bullets. Xiao Ziji's expression changed. Because the shooting speed was too fast and the recoil was too strong, the muzzle was aimed directly at the sky. After firing more than 10 bullets, he released his finger and sat down on the ground. He said with a face of despair, Sect leader, one shot fired so many bullets. Whether it was the Type 88 or the AWM, they were all used for single-point shooting. This was the first time he had experienced such a fully automatic shooting mode. As for the stone wall in front of him, only one bullet hit the predetermined position. The other bullets extended upwards in an irregular pattern. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, with your gun control skills, you'll never be able to eat chicken in your lifetime. Asking for monthly tickets. Chapter 425. Xiao Ziji's body was very strong, but he still could not withstand the recoil of the AK-47, so all the bullets hit the surroundings. He was definitely a master of body tracing. Jun Changshao took the gun and aimed at the stone wall in front of him, saying, the gun should be fired like this. 222. He pressed 3 times in a row. Although there was still recoil, it was very stable. Although he did not have the opportunity to use an AK-47 in real life, he had played many games. He naturally knew that the first 3 shots were the easiest to suppress, and the later shots would be harder to suppress. Of course. This was a medium to long-range burst shot. If the target was very close, he could just fire randomly. Sigh. Jun Changshao fired a few more shots, and the gun was very stable. He murmured, if it was a fully equipped M4 with a 15x scope, I could do it too. Sect Master. Xiao Ziji rested for a while, saying, let me try. Jun Changshao took out another AK-47 from the space ring and threw it over, saying, this gun is yours from now on. Xiao Ziji loaded the bullets and pulled the trigger according to the Sect Master's demonstration. As expected, he easily suppressed the gun, and the bullets accurately hit the point he had locked on. Jun Changshao said, get used to the rhythm of shooting. You'll soon master it, and it won't be a problem to finish a magazine of bullets. Okay. Xiao Ziji did not even eat the skewers, and began to frequently practice shooting in the wild. Needless to say, after a few rounds, he perfectly mastered the recoil of the AK-47, and it was not a problem to shoot 40 bullets in 10 seconds. But 40 bullets might not all hit the same point, and there was still a slight fluctuation. Otherwise, there would definitely be no recoil. Xiao Zuiji tried another round of bullets and laughed, Sect Master, although the power of this gun can't compare to the Type 88 and AWM, the bullets it shoots are extremely fast. It can completely suppress the enemy with firepower. Jun Changshao said, that's because there is no Gatling gun. Otherwise, you would know what true suppression is. Qingyang. He shouted, you also come and try. Okay. Li Qingyang put down the skewers and took the AK-47. He imitated Xiao Zuiji's actions and pulled the trigger. Although he didn't hit his target, he still managed to pull off a decent shot. When they had nothing to do in the sect, he and Su Xiaoma had played with the Type 88 sniper rifle. Although they weren't very accurate, at least they had some experience. Jun Changshao said, this gun will be yours from now on. Take your time to practice and try to master it as soon as possible. Yes. Upon receiving the order, Li Qingyang began to carefully ask junior brother Xiao questions about shooting, as if he was a humble student who was willing to be taught. Arriving in front of the boulder where Lu Qianqian was, Jun Changshao took out the AK-47 and asked, do you want it? An ice-cold beauty dressed in white like a fairy, sweeping wildly with an AK-47. Just the thought of this scene made him a little excited. It was a pity. Lu Qianqian said, Sect Master, I prefer to use the sword to solve all problems. Although she refused, her tone wasn't as cold as before. Instead, it was mixed with a trace of human kindness. Lu Qianqian had always been changing, but because she was usually quiet, it was hard to see. Of course. To completely melt an iceberg, not only was it difficult, but it also had to be hot enough. Xingqian. Jun Changshao looked at Yi Xingqian, who was standing proudly in the distance, and asked, do you want it? Sect Master. Yi Xingqian said, I prefer to use my fists to solve all problems. Damn. This guy is really pretentious. Fortunately, Su Xiaoma and Li Fei weren't here. Otherwise, the two of them would have taken the initiative to ask for it. They even didn't hesitate to wrestle with each other until their heads bled. Yi Xingqian also knew that this strange gun's power was extraordinary, but he preferred to use his fists or normal weapons to defeat the enemy. Jun Changshao said, I have a fist technique here, do you want it? No, Yi Xingqian was startled, and hurriedly changed his words, yes. Knight Emperor. Where was his arrogance, where was his demeanor? Jun Changshao threw the landslide fist to him, and also gave it to Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji. Only Lu Qianqian and Zhou Hong were not given. Because this kind of fierce palm technique was definitely not suitable for girls to cultivate. Zhou Hong was a sword cultivator, so he naturally wouldn't cultivate fist techniques. To be honest. As the eldest disciple of Iron Bone, the martial arts resources that Lu Qianqian had obtained were only ice attribute martial arts and an ice attribute bracelet. The martial arts that had recently spawned, Qishuan Sunglow Break, could be cultivated, while Raging Flame Cut was only suitable for male martial cultivators. Jun Changshao felt a little apologetic. Although Lu Qianqian was cold, but after more than a year of contact, he could see that it was nothing more than a cold heart. What's more, transmigrating to the Falling Star continent, when she was most helpless and miserable, she was the first to join the sect. Many readers only saw Lu Qianqian's coldness, but did not see it. If it weren't for her appearance, how could Master Jun get 1 contribution point, open the mall, buy a big gift pack, and have the capital to establish a foothold? If not her, there were others. This was just an assumption. In fact, Lu Qianqian was the first to join. This was unchangeable and undeniable. If she didn't join, there would be others. But at that time, the recruitment of numerous sects had already ended, and he would not have met the injured Li Qingyang, nor would he have recruited so many disciples to obtain the first bucket of gold in his life. Jun Changshao often thought that if Lu Qianqian did not appear in time, it would definitely be difficult for him to develop iron bone to this extent. Therefore, whether this woman's character was cold or her words were sharp, it did not affect her position in his heart. My first disciple. I am biased, is there a problem? Qianqian. Jun Changshao sat on the boulder and said, I have a middle-grade cold sword here, which happens to be ice attribute, suitable for you to use. Of course. He said in a domineering tone, you must obey my orders. Lu Qianqian, who wanted to refuse, had to take the cold sword. Coincidentally, Jun Changshao inadvertently saw the ice bracelet on her wrist, and casually said, you still have the bracelet? Lu Qianqian's bright eyes were strange, and she hurriedly covered the bracelet with her sleeve, jumped off the boulder lightly, and walked to the front where there was no one, as if deliberately keeping a certain distance from the sect master. When will she be able to open up her heart that is wrapped in ice? Jun Changshao shook his head, took out the mountain-collapsing earth-splitting fist, and began to carefully comprehend it. Ding! A prompt came from the casting pavilion, and the cloud-walking boots was refined. While Jun Changshao and Lu Qianqian were interacting, Yi Xingqian had already roughly flipped through the fist technique, and secretly exclaimed, this fist technique to the extreme, I'm afraid it's not weaker than a low-level saint martial art. As expected. The sect master was getting better and better. The mountain-collapsing earth-splitting fist inherited the usual advantages of the system store, which was easy to learn, but difficult to master. With Yi Xingqian's aptitude, he had a preliminary grasp of it after a while. Just as he was about to test its power, he inadvertently looked at the sect master, and his expression suddenly became sluggish. What did he see? He saw Jun Changshao squatting on the boulder, then lifting his feet and taking off his boots. Taking off his boots and socks in public. As a sect master, what kind of quality was this? Chapter 426. Although they were in the wilderness, Jun Changshao's action of taking off his boots was a bit uncivilized. If it was Yi Xingqian, he would definitely not do it. Because this was a matter of quality and principle. Jun Changshao did not think much of it. He took off one and then the other, acting very casually. He even raised his foot and sniffed it, well, it's not smelly. Ga. Knight Emperor was directly petrified. As the leader of a sect, he actually did such an extremely indecent thing. Thinking of how he had just received the secret manual from him, Yi Xingqian, who was a little obsessed with cleanliness, almost ran to the stream to wash his hands. Shua! Jun Changshao waved his hand and took out the newly refined cloud-walking boots. Because the supplementary material was fur, it was a leather shoe. The color was pale white and it looked a little big. However, after putting on the cloud-walking boots, it miraculously shrank and matched his feet. Not only was it suitable, but it was also quite comfortable. Only then did Yi Xingqian realize that the sect leader was going to change his boots. However, he raised his foot and sniffed it. Ta-ta! After putting on the cloud-walking boots, Jun Changshao stood on tiptoe and said, I feel a little lighter than before. Shua! While speaking, he took out his long legs that could only be cultivated in Photoshop and started running. His speed was obviously faster than before. However, it was only a 10% increase in speed. If he didn't run for a long time, it would be difficult to feel it directly. Yi Xingqian had been paying attention to Jun Changshao. He could clearly see that the moment his feet touched the ground, the new boots would flicker with a faint light. He secretly guessed, could it be a kind of treasure that can increase one's speed? Strictly speaking, the mid-grade cloud-walking boots could not be considered a treasure and could only be classified as equipment. After testing normal running, Jun Changshao used the cloud-walking steps and increased his speed by 20%. There was an obvious change immediately. The cloud-walking boots' flashing light was also brighter than before. It could be seen. When the speed increased, the light would increase. What was even more amazing was that it also had the ability to increase jumping. Jun Changshao jumped up, increasing from 200 feet to 24 feet. Ta! After landing steadily, he clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Not only is it comfortable to wear, but it can also increase my speed. It's the best of both worlds." Increase speed? As expected, he had guessed correctly. This new pair of boots was a treasure that could increase one's speed. Knight Emperor had not only seen defensive and attack-type true treasures in his previous life, but he had also owned many of them. However, speed-type true treasures were extremely rare. The sect leader was really something. No. He had to perform even better and strive to obtain such a supreme treasure. Yi Xingqian knew better than anyone the importance of martial techniques, equipment, and treasures to a martial cultivator. After testing the cloud-walking boots, Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend the earth-shattering fist. The smithing pavilion was still mechanically refining. 2 hours later. A few more pairs were refined. Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion came from afar. Jun Changshao looked up and saw that Yi Xingqian had punched the mountain wall where Xiao Ziji had tested his spear. Dense cracks immediately appeared on the wall. Li Qingyang walked over and said in surprise, "Junior brother Yi, you've already comprehended the earth-shattering fist?" "Yes," Yi Xingqian said. He had only just begun to comprehend it and was still far from minor accomplishment. However, the punch he performed just now had at least 30,000 points of strength. Yi Xingqian's comprehension of the rupturing fist was already at the peak. When he performed it, the increase in strength was at most 20,000 points. Now that he had only comprehended the earth-shattering fist, he had already gained so much strength. It was indeed a supreme-grade fist technique. Tisk, tisk. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "This disciple of mine is really fast in cultivating system martial techniques. Come." He waved his hand and said, "I have something to tell you." Li Qingyang and the others walked over. Jun Changshao waved his hand and took out a few pairs of cloud-walking boots that he had just refined. He said, "At the peak of Mount Hua, you showed off the power of my iron bone. These are your rewards." Yi Xingqian was overjoyed. Just now, he wanted to obtain such a treasure through his performance. He didn't expect the sect leader to give it to him. "Thank you, sect leader." Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji took it. Jun Changshao said, "These cloud-walking boots can increase your speed. You can try it." "Is that so?" Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji's eyes lit up. Then, they sat on the stone and began to change their boots. Lu Qianqian also received it. However, she was a girl after all. She definitely wouldn't take off her boots in public. As for our misophobic Lord Knight the Arch, he held the light cloud-walking shoes and his expression became extremely interesting. Should he change it now? Or should he change it after returning to the sect? Sect leader. Xiao Ziji was the first to change. Then, he jumped and said happily, "After wearing the cloud-walking boots, my body feels much lighter." "I have the same feeling." Li Qingyang also changed into his clothes. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "When running normally, your speed will increase by 10%. When using the movement technique, it will increase by 20%. So powerful?" Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji immediately widened their eyes. If running normally for 100 feet, it would be 10 feet more than usual. If running normally for 100 feet, it would be 20 feet more than usual. This was definitely very powerful. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the spacious grassland, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji began to test it. They sometimes ran and sometimes used the movement technique. When they finally stopped, they said happily in unison, these cloud-walking boots are amazing. Next to them, Yi Xingchen lowered his head and clenched his fists. At this moment, he was suffering a huge mental torture. His mind was filled with thoughts of whether he should take off his boots and try the cloud-walking boots. No, no. In his previous life, he was a martial emperor. How could he behave like a commoner and do such a thing in front of such a large crowd? Wait. That was in his previous life. He was not a martial emperor now. Since that was the case, why should he be bothered by such trifles? Change. 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 Yi Xingchen sat on a rock and quickly took off his boots. He changed into the cloud-walking boots and ran impatiently. Knight Emperor. Where are your qualities, where are your principles? Whoosh. Whoosh. After a series of tests, Yi Xingchen stopped and said firmly in his heart, how could a pair of boots that can increase speed be made in the falling star continent? It must be from the upper realm. Our Knight Emperor had gone deeper and deeper into the path of Jun Changshao came from the upper realm and could not extricate himself from it. It was understandable. After all, there were too many rare and strange martial arts resources. Let's go. Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. On the way, he did not forget to comprehend the earth-shattering fist. However, he unknowingly entered a dark forest. Whoosh. Whoosh. A cold wind blew, making one's hair stand on end. Jun Changshao looked around and murmured, why didn't I see them on the way here? The system was speechless. On the way here, the host was looking for bandits everywhere and did not follow the normal route. Naturally, he avoided them perfectly. Sect leader. Li Qingyang said solemnly, I'm afraid there are powerful beasts here. Whoosh. The Hurricane Wolf King let out a low growl as if to tell its master that the forest was not ordinary and should not be casually entered. After careful consideration, Jun Chang smiled and said, let's go in and take a look. Let's see what treasures we can find. Whoosh. Whoosh. Just as they were about to enter, they saw a martial cultivator suddenly jump out from the depths of the dark forest. There were many wounds on his body and blood was gushing out. Plop. After running for a while, he fell 10 meters away from the group and said weakly, everyone. Everyone, please save me. Before he could finish, Jun Changshao rode on the Hurricane Wolf King and led the disciples around him as if they did not see him at all. The muscles on the wounded martial cultivator's face froze and then he collapsed on the ground and said sadly, public morals are degenerating day by day. Chapter 427. When a seriously injured martial cultivator ran out of the dark forest and called for help weakly, those who were sympathetic would help. However, Jun Changshao and his disciples turned a blind eye to it. Was this the distortion of human nature or the loss of morality that made them so cold-blooded and heartless? Sect Master. Li Qingyang said telepathically, are we really not going to save him? Jun Changshao said, his body is full of wounds from weapons. It's obvious that someone is chasing him. If we save him, it might cause unnecessary trouble. Li Qingyang chose to remain silent. The system said, you have the title of a chivalrous person now. If you don't save him, it will be ironic. Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, a chivalrous person can't save people from fire and water every day. Besides, although his injuries are serious, they are not fatal. Everyone. After a few steps, the wounded martial cultivator lying on the ground said with difficulty, save my life. I'm willing to give you 100 spirit stones. I've sinned. Jun Changshao said, hurry up and lift him up. The ground is cold. Li Qingyang and Zhou Hong's mouths twitched. The sect master immediately became warm-hearted at the mention of spirit stones. Wasn't he being too realistic? In the cruel falling star continent, it was natural to be more realistic with people who were neither relatives nor friends. When he had just transmigrated, Jun Changshao had saved Li Qingyang. Now that he could be more open-minded in the face of someone in trouble, it was the best proof of his change in mentality. Whoosh! Xiao Ziji jumped down from the hurricane wolf and was about to carry the wounded martial cultivator when dozens of black-clothed people suddenly flew out of the dark forest. These people surrounded Jun Changshao and the others at the fastest speed. Their eyes were cold and fierce. Seeing this, the wounded martial cultivator's heart was filled with despair. The leader of the black-clothed people glanced at Jun Changshao and the others and said indifferently, "You are this guy's accomplices?" Jun Changshao said, "We are just passing by." Passing by. The black-clothed leader smiled coldly, then waved his hand and said, "Then die in the black demon forest." Whoosh! 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 The surrounding subordinates waved their hands wildly, and one after another, concealed weapons that flickered with cold light shot over. Clang! Clang! Li Qingyang and Yi Xingqian brandished their swords. Immediately, they brandished their swords and destroyed all the hidden weapons that were coming at them. Xiao Ziji summoned his solid iron shield, not only to protect himself, but also to protect the injured martial cultivator. The leader in black was surprised and said, "You have some ability." "Big brother," the martial artist at the side said in a low voice, "The wolves that these people are riding seem to be Gale wolves." "What?" The black-clothed leader was shocked. The Gale wolf was not an ordinary beast. Since they were using it as a mount, their identities were definitely not simple. "Since you're just passing by." The black-robed leader reacted quickly and said, "Then leave quickly. Don't get in the way of my demon channeling hall's mission here." The strength of this group of wolf-riding martial cultivators was a bit strong. He didn't dare to provoke them too much, so his tone became gentler. The reason why he had mentioned the demon channeling hall was to let the other party know of his identity and which sect he came from. "Unfortunately, since you've already attacked, it would be strange if this matter was over." Jun Changshao crossed his arms and said with a smile, "You greeted us with hidden weapons the moment we met and now you want us to leave. Was your brain kicked by a donkey?" The black-clothed leader's face darkened, but he suppressed his anger and said with cupped fists, "It was just a misunderstanding. Please don't take it to heart for the sake of the demon channeling hall." "Humph. If it weren't for the fact that you were riding Gale wolves, I would have killed you with my sword." "Wrong. It was not Gale wolves, but hurricane wolves. There was even a hurricane wolf king among them." Jiang Yi said telepathically, "Sect leader, the demon channeling hall is a fifth-rate evil sect." "Fifth-rate?" Jun Changxiao's eyes immediately flashed with disdain. "I've provoked 2 third-rate evil sections. Why would I care about a fifth-rate evil sect?" Of course, he didn't want to provoke an evil sect when he was outside. Instead, he pointed outside and said, "Since you're from the demon channeling hall, I'll give you face and scram as fast as you can." The black-clothed leader's anger immediately rose. But he still suppressed it. He looked at the injured martial cultivator and said, "He's someone the demon channeling hall is after. We're taking him away. Please do us a favor." Jun Changshao said, "Give him 100 spirit stones and take him away." The injured martial cultivator was stunned. He screamed in his heart, "Public morals are degenerating day by day. People are not what they used to be." The black-clothed leader finally couldn't take it anymore. He said in a gloomy voice, "Friend, you're being a little unreasonable." The corner of Jiang Ye's mouth twitched slightly. How could a person from an evil sect say that he was reasonable? That was the biggest joke in the world. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "He's willing to pay me 100 spirit stones to keep him safe. If you take him away, my spirit stones will be gone. So, you have to give me 100 spirit stones." The corner of Li Qingyang and the others' mouths twitched. Sect leader wants 100 spirit stones no matter what. The black-clothed leader's expression changed again. "I don't have 100 spirit stones. Even if I did, how could I bear to give them to you? How about this? He said, after I take him down, I'll give you the spirit stones I find. Since the target had 100 spirit stones, he could take them out and give them to him. He could go back and complete the mission as soon as possible. Both sides would be fine. That won't do. Jun Changshao said, if you capture him and run away, won't I lose both the spirit stones and the spirit stones? So, you have to give me 100 spirit stones first and let me give up on protecting him. The black-clothed leader's expression darkened. He thought to himself, is this guy messing with me, or is he deliberately stalling for time? Young friend. At that moment, the injured martial cultivator said with difficulty, I'm willing to pay 1,000 spirit stones. Please save my life. He could tell that the people from the enchanted palace did not dare to do anything to this wolf-riding martial cultivator. In order to survive, they were willing to pay more. I'll take this deal, Jun Changshao said. Although his family had a spirit stone mine that could produce natural spirit stones, he would not mind man-made spirit stones. After all, one spirit stone was worth 10,000 taels. Phew. The injured martial cultivator breathed a sigh of relief. The despair in his heart gradually dissipated. Jun Changshao looked at the black-clothed leader and shrugged. If you want me to give up on protecting him now, it's not 100 spirit stones. It's 1,000 spirit stones. Pfft. The injured martial cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood. He cursed in his heart, does this guy have any professional ethics? The black-clothed leader could not even take out 100 spirit stones, let alone 1,000. So, he said with a dark gaze, kid, you're playing with me on purpose. Can't take it out. Jun Changshao said, then get out of here. The black-clothed leader said coldly, since you refuse a toast, don't blame me for being rude. Swoosh. As he spoke, he made a strange hand gesture. Swoosh. 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 The dozens of black-clothed men around him took out a crossbow-like weapon from their spatial rings and equipped it with arrows. The arrowhead flickered with a faint light, as if it carried explosive power. Jiang Yi said telepathically, Master, this is a magic explosive crossbow. The arrowhead is blessed with a crystal core. It will explode when touched by a foreign object. It's extremely lethal. Kid. The black-clothed leader said, I've been patient again and again. Since you don't leave, then you'll end up with a broken body. Jun Changshao sneered and shouted, Qingyang, Zui Ji, show me your weapons. Swoosh. Swoosh. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji summoned their AK-47s and held them up. Crack. Jun Changshao also took out his AK-47. This guy also put on a pair of dazzling sunglasses. With a cigar in his mouth, he said proudly, I want to see if your arrows are faster than my bullets. Looking down from above. A group of black-clothed men holding the most advanced crossbows were facing 3 people riding hurricane wolves and holding AK-47s. The atmosphere. It was tense. Chapter 428. When Jun Changshao and the other 2 picked up the AK-47, the leader and his men were all dumbfounded. What are they holding in their hands? Crossbows? Her appearance was too strange. Wasn't it too unsightly? Or are they just simple wooden sticks? Or are they some kind of special short-range weapon? Kid. The leader sneered. Who are you trying to scare with a stick? The grip and stock of the AK-47 were made of reddish-brown wood. It did look like a stick. Jun Changshao said indifferently, I'll give you and your men one more chance. Get out of here, or you'll become a hornet's nest later. He. The leader laughed strangely. It seems that you don't know that my men are using demon explosive crossbows. The arrows they shoot are at least 50,000 kilograms. Ordinary peak-level martial masters could only shoot 50,000 kilograms. It was indeed very powerful for one arrow to be able to release such a powerful force. More importantly, there were 40 to 50 men in black who were equipped with such crossbows. The lethality of their arrows couldn't be underestimated. Of course, demon explosive crossbows were very expensive, and the cost of demon explosive arrows was even higher. Shooting an arrow was equivalent to shooting a spirit stone. Martial cultivators in the Falling Star continent usually wouldn't use such equipment because they couldn't afford it. Many legions were equipped with such equipment to attack cities. 50,000 kilograms? Jun Changshao said indifferently, how lame. The guns sold in the system were all determined by the level of the crystal core. Not to mention 50,000 kilograms, even 100,000 kilograms could be produced. Moreover, a high-level crystal core could store 2 rounds of AK-47 bullets. It was a great deal. Even now, if the two sides didn't attack each other but shot at the air, Sect leader Jun could exhaust them and make them bankrupt. Come on. Let's hurt each other. He had already told them the power of the demon explosive arrows, but these wolf-riding martial cultivators still didn't leave and were still confronting each other. This made the leader in black angry. Did they really think that he didn't dare to give the order to shoot because he was worried about the demon explosive arrows? Swish! The leader in black raised his hand, his eyes flashing with killing intent. The mission given by the higher-ups must be completed no matter the price. Swish! Schwa! More than 40 subordinates raised their magic explosive crossbows, ready to fire as soon as their boss's hand fell. Brat! The leader in black said coldly, go to hell. He lowered his hand and gave the order to shoot. Many of his subordinates began to exert force on their triggers. Kill them all. At this moment, Jun Changshao gave the order. Da-da-da. 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 The 3 AK-47s immediately spewed out flames as tiny bullets shot out from 3 different directions, shaking the space and dragging streams of light behind them. When the image was slowed down, it looked like a scene from the Hacker Empire. Boom! 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 The extremely fast-firing speed and strong penetrating power ruthlessly swept across the body of the black-clothed martial cultivator who was just about to pull the trigger. Some of them passed through his head, while others passed through his chest. He was hit 3 or 4 times in an instant. In the meantime, the Demon Channeling Hall's martial cultivators had also successfully fired their devil explosive arrows. However, as soon as it flew out of the crossbow, it was hit by the bullets and instantly exploded, causing the surrounding magic explosive arrows to explode. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Boom 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 in the wilderness, the sound of gunshots and explosions was endless. The fog and dust from the bullets also filled the area. The injured martial cultivator lying on the ground was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. Although the fog and dust blocked his vision and he could not see what was going on inside, the 3 martial cultivators riding on the wolf beasts were not injured by the devil explosive arrows and were still safe and sound. They were riding on a strange object that kept spitting out flames at the end. It looked very powerful. Ka! 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 Jun Changshao first emptied a magazine of bullets, took out the crystal cores, and reloaded the magazine as fast as he could. Whoosh! Once again, he raised his AK-47 and fired wildly at the foggy area. His cold movements and expressionless mouth were very similar to the Terminator played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. At this time, if Sect leader Jun was accompanied by a very hot background music, it would definitely be exciting. Jiang Ye's mouth twitched. This kind of gun is like a hidden weapon. It's so powerful. Ka ka ka. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji also emptied a magazine of bullets. The Sect leader did not ask them to stop. He continued to reload and fired with his gun. After emptying another magazine of bullets, Jun Changshao raised his gun, held the electronic cigar, and blew out a smoke ring. That's enough. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji put away their guns. Although the two of them had mastered the shooting frequency of the AK-47, their hands could not help but tremble slightly when they stopped shooting. However, fighting a real person was much better than practicing with a gun. Gradually, the dust and fog dissipated. Everything around them could be seen clearly. More than 40 evil cultivators from the demon channeling palace who surrounded Jun Changshao in a fan shape were lying on the ground. Some of them were shot to death, while others were killed by the devil explosive arrows. Not a single one was left alive. Fresh blood flowed and gathered together. A cold wind blew over, and there was a nauseating smell of blood. Plop! The leader in black went limp and sat in a pool of blood. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with shock. Perhaps it was on purpose. All his subordinates were dead, but he was alive and well. However, he might as well be dead. Because of the extremely fast and powerful bullets that flew past him, the leader in black felt as if he was in the 18th level of hell. His cultivation was only at the peak of the martial master level. If he was hit by the AK-47, he would definitely die. Thud! Thud! The Gale Wolf King walked over. Jun Changshao raised the AK-47 with one hand and pressed the muzzle against the leader's head. He said calmly, "Do you still think this is a fire rod?" The continuous firing from the muzzle produced a lot of heat. The leader in black looked even more ferocious. However, he did not dare to move because he had seen the power of the AK-47. Friend, friend. The leader in black suppressed his fear and said in a low voice, Let's talk, go to hell and talk to the king of hell. Jun Changshao pulled the trigger with a cold voice. The bullet went through with a bang, and blood and sticky things splashed on the grass. Plop! The leader in black fell to the ground. The vitality in his eyes gradually dissipated, and the muscles on his face were still fixed in a ferocious state. As soon as they met, he ordered his subordinates to throw hidden weapons without any explanation. This had angered Jun Changshao. If my disciple and I were weak, we would have been killed by you guys just because we were passing by. This grievance would probably be complained to the king of hell right now. Even if the leader in black took out 100 or 1,000 spirit stones, the result would still be death. Swish! Swish! Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji jumped down from the Gale Wolf and began to skillfully loot the crates. Jun Changshao walked to the injured martial artist and pressed the muzzle of the AK-47 against the grass. He said expressionlessly, "The people who were chasing you have all been killed. You are safe now. Give me the 1,000 spirit stones." Little friend, the corner of the martial artist's mouth twitched. He said weakly, I don't have it, you don't have it. Jun Changshao frowned. The martial artist was silent. Swish! Jun Changshao stood up and reloaded the gun. He pulled the safety pin and pointed the muzzle at the martial artist's head. He said coldly, "Are you playing with me? Motherfucker. For 1,000 spirit stones, I have offended a fifth-rate evil sect. And you tell me you don't have it? Is it because I have the title of a hero that you are so fearless?" The martial artist naturally knew the power of the fire rod. He hurriedly said, "I have it. I have one. You are playing with me." Bang! Chapter 429. Jun Changshao decisively opened fire, but the muzzle of the gun moved from the head of the wounded cultivator to his crotch. The bullet directly hit the grass between his legs, leaving a fingernail-sized hole. "Friend," he said with a gloomy face, "I have a bad temper, don't play with me." While speaking, he raised the AK-47. The muzzle was not placed on the head, but on the crotch of the wounded cultivator. It was exactly right. Gulp! The wounded cultivator swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Not only did a chill run down his spine, even his crotch was cold. He said with a trembling voice, friend, my spirit stone is natural, one stone is equal to several stones. Natural? Jun Changshao was quite surprised. Take it out and let me see. In order to carry on his family line, the wounded cultivator hurriedly took out the spirit stone from his space ring. Jun Changshao took it and used his mind to communicate with the spirit stone. He saw that the spiritual energy gathered inside was very pure. Not bad. It was a natural spirit stone. Jun Changshao looked at him suspiciously. Only one? The wounded cultivator said with a bitter face, Friend, do you think I still dare to lie? Puchi. Suddenly, a dagger was inserted into his thigh. He was startled. When he felt the pain, he screamed, Ah! Swish! Jun Changshao pulled the dagger back. Hiss! Blood spurted out like a fountain. The wounded cultivator's face became more and more ferocious. He was already wounded, and now it was one disaster after another. Jun Changshao wiped the blood-stained dagger on his clothes. I think you are not honest. In order to suffer less physical pain, you better hand over the remaining 999 spirit stones. His face was expressionless, like a devil from hell. It was hard to imagine that this was the Iron Bones sect leader who was occasionally a little naughty when interacting with his disciples. I really don't have any more, Puchi. Jun Changshao did not say anything and stabbed his other thigh. Ah! The wounded cultivator screamed in pain again. Shua! Jun Changshao pulled out the dagger, raised his arm and pressed it against the man's neck. Since you don't have it, then use your life to pay for my reward. The blade made contact with the skin and caved in. Even if it was only a few millimeters in, a thin red mark appeared, and blood slowly seeped out. The wounded Wuxiu's heart suddenly began to beat wildly. A strong omen of death surged into his sea of consciousness, making him not dare to lie anymore. He said, I still have. Jun Changshao withdrew his dagger and said, Take it out. Huff, the wounded cultivator gasped for air. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, I found a spirit stone mine in the depths of the forest. There are a lot of spirit stones in there. I can take you there. Really? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. When Zhang Xian took out a natural spirit stone, he was already suspicious of Zhang Xian. As expected, after Zhang Xian threatened him, he really confessed. If I'm not wrong, Jun Changshao said, the people from Demon Channeling Palace are chasing you because they want to know the location of the spirit stone mine? The wounded Wu Xiu endured the pain and said, That's right. Qingyang. Jun Changshao stood up and said, Treat this guy's wounds, don't let him die. Yes. Li Qingyang quickly walked over, took out some medicine and bandages from his spatial ring, and began to bandage the wound. Taking advantage of this time, Jun Changshao burned the piled-up corpses with exquisite fire. After all, it was a fifth-rate evil sect. If they found out that he was the one who killed them, it would definitely bring about trouble. Therefore, it was important to destroy the corpses. The gloomy forest that Jun Changshao and the others arrived at was the Black Devil Forest. To be exact, the Black Devil Forest was only a part of the Black Devil Mountain Range. The Black Devil Mountain Range was a large mountain range that ran through many counties. The 10,000 Beast Mountain Range of Huayang County was not even a tenth of it. Although there were many vicious beasts in the Black Devil Mountain Range, other than a small area, it was not too dangerous. This small area included the Black Devil Forest that Jun Changshao was currently in. It was said that vicious beasts comparable to Wuzong level could be seen everywhere in the depths. Moreover, the terrain was very complicated. Even a martial king could easily get lost in it. The wounded Wu Xiu was called Ren Shan, a rank 6 martial master rogue cultivator. He and a few companions entered the Black Devil Forest and found a cave. Then, they boldly went in and found an unmined spirit stone mine. This excited them to no end. However, when they were about to collect spirit stones for the second time, they were somehow locked onto by the people from Demon Channeling Palace. In a hurry, he and his companions headed into the depths of the unknown area. In the end, they miserably encountered vicious beasts comparable to Wuzong. In the end, Ren Shan escaped, and his 3 companions became food. Those who survived a great disaster were bound to have good fortune. Just as he escaped danger, he encountered people from Demon Channeling Palace and was seriously injured. Thus, he met Jun Changshao outside the forest. After learning about what happened, Jiang Ye shook his head and said, "You're really unlucky." Ren Shan sat behind Xiao Ziji, his entire body wrapped in bandages. With a bitter expression, he said, "I finally know what it means to be innocent but guilty of possessing a treasure." If he hadn't accidentally discovered the spirit stone mine and dug out the spirit stones inside, he and his companions wouldn't have been in danger, and he wouldn't have been left alone. Don't sigh. Jun Changshao said, "Hurry up and lead the way." He wasn't interested in listening to the tragic story. He only cared about the spirit stone mine in the depths of the forest. However, Jun Changshao also had doubts in his heart. The appearance of the spirit stone mine meant that there was a recovery of spiritual energy. Why didn't others discover it? Why did a few rogue cultivators accidentally find it? When he entered the Black Devil Forest and saw the dense miasma around him, he realized that it wasn't that no one had discovered it, but that this naturally formed environment was enough to cover up the natural phenomenon. Little friend. After entering, Ren Shan said warily, "The depths are filled with ferocious beasts of the 8th or 9th grade. There are also many high-grade ones. We must proceed carefully." "Don't worry." Jun Changshao said, "With us here, even if it's a spirit beast, it's enough to deal with it." The reason why he was so confident was because Jiang Ye was with him. Thinking of this group of people who had used strange hidden weapons to kill all the evil cultivators of the Demon Channeling Palace, Jiang Shan gradually relaxed his vigilance and began to search for the way to the spirit stone mine according to his memory. Roar, boom. In the depths of the Black Devil Forest, a ferocious beast comparable to a 6th-grade martial master had just jumped out from the dark when it was killed by Xiao Ziji with a single punch. Then, he took the opportunity to take away its crystal core and flesh. Ren Shan was secretly shocked. So these people not only rely on special hidden weapons, but they are also very strong. He became even bolder. As long as he confirmed the location, he would not hesitate to go. 2 hours later, Ren Shan led Jun Changshao and the others to a collapsed area of the mountain. There was a cave in a relatively low-lying area. Sect leader Jiang Ye said telepathically, "The miasma in this area is very dense. My spiritual senses are restricted." Jun Changshao was even more aware of why no one had discovered the spirit stone mine. Firstly, it was restricted by spiritual senses. Secondly, the terrain was too complicated. If one wanted to reach this place, they could only rely on luck. "Young friend." Ren Shan pointed at the cave in front of them and said, "The spirit stone mine is hidden inside." Jun Changshao said, "You go down first." Ren Shan shook his head and dragged his injured body into the cave. When the others followed in, they did not see his figure. Their field of vision was all tangled and complicated tunnel entrances. Sect leader Li Qingyang said, "That guy ran away." Jun Changshao sneered and said, "This king already knew that this guy wasn't easy to deal with." The system added, "So, you still let him run away." Chapter 430. Jun Changshao could tell that Ren Shan was not honest, so he had been paying attention to him along the way. However, what he did not expect was that there was not only one tunnel in the cave, but many tunnels, like a maze. As long as a person came in, they would easily disappear without a trace after taking a few steps. "Let's just run." Jun Changshao said, "It's not a big deal." He did not care about Ren Shan. What he cared about was that they had already arrived at the Spirit Stone mine. As long as they found the Spirit Stones, not to mention getting 999, even adding 2 more zeros would not be a problem. Of course. Jun Changshao could also imagine that Ren Shan must be worried that he would harm him. Wasn't this nonsense? Using a dagger to stab him twice, if it was anyone else, they would not dare to work with you. Sect leader Jun could not be blamed for being ruthless. If he did not do that, how would he know about the Spirit Stone mine, and how would he come here? Damn it! Jiang Ye said rather unhappily, if it were not for the restriction of spiritual sense here, I would definitely be able to catch that kid easily. Li Qingyang said, Sect leader, there are 9 intersections in front of us, should we go together or separately? Jun Changshao said, let's go together. He was worried about what dangers were hidden in the maze of tunnels. As for which way to go, he did not think about it and directly chose the entrance that was right in front of him. Jiang Ye said speechlessly, Sect leader, such an intricate place, entering without thinking about it is too careless. Although he was not old, he had wandered in Jianghu for a few years and knew that such places often hid mysteries, and every choice was crucial. 3 years ago, Jiang Xia entered a gloomy cave. There was also a tunnel inside. After careful consideration, he successfully walked into a dead end and even triggered a trap, suffering a lot. If he could take the wrong path after careful consideration, the sect leader's choice without thinking was simply playing with his life. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Jun Changshao said. If I were a fucking feng shui master who could use a compass to deduce the entrance, I would definitely be chanting Qian Kanzhen Zhensun Li Kun Dui. Yes. The system said, that kid entered this tunnel. Jun Changzhao's expression froze as he asked in astonishment, how did you know? The system said proudly, I can detect the residual breath in the air to determine if the other party has been here before. I see. Jun Changshao said, you're a dog. You're a dog. You're a dog, you're a dog, you're a dog. The 2 weirdos, whose misfortunes and blessings were interdependent, cursed each other in their hearts as they walked. They were very amiable. After taking a few steps, they went in 2 different directions. Sect leader. Let's go to the right, Jun Changshao interrupted. Jiang Xie's mouth twitched. As a veteran with experience in exploration, he was explaining seriously, but the sect leader actually didn't listen. He even casually chose a path. What was going on? Jiang Ye sighed and got up to follow. Not long after, they came to another crossroad. Both sides of the tunnel had the same strange pattern. Jiang Ye began to guess and compare it with the pattern just now. I understand now. Suddenly, he said, this is definitely a mark left by someone on purpose to find the direction next time. If I'm not wrong, it's probably a mark left by Ren Shan and his accomplices. If we can decipher it, we can find that guy. His reasoning was logical and logical. However, when he finished speaking, he found that the sect leader had already led the disciples forward, as if he did not hear him at all. Jiang Ye was speechless. They continued to walk and came across a lot of crossroads. Jun Changshao did not hesitate at all. He turned left and right, and soon the disciples were confused. Jiang Ye followed behind, holding back his grievances. I've been to this kind of place before. Why doesn't the sect leader listen to me? Why does he have to run around like a headless fly? No, no. If they continue like this, they will get lost sooner or later. Sect leader. Jiang Ye said, no, there's someone. Shua. Li Qingyang used the cloud-treading steps and rushed over. He directly grabbed Ren Shan, who was about to turn into another intersection, and then, with a wave of his hand, dragged him back. Jiang Ye was dumbfounded. In such a complicated maze of tunnels, there were so many crossroads, and they actually met the guy who ran away before. Wasn't their luck too good? Luck? Jiang Ye was wrong. Sect leader June found Ren Shan, who had entered the tunnel first, according to the aura left in the air. Plop! Ren Shan fell to the ground. Because he touched his wound, he immediately grimaced in pain. He howled in his heart, "How did they find me?" Jun Changshao said, "Is it fun to play hide and seek?" Ren Shan was silent. Jun Changshao pointed at the intersection in front and said, "I'll give you one more chance. Hurry up and hide. Don't let me find you." Huh? Ren Shan was a little confused. Jiang Ye, Li Qingyang, and the others were also a little confused. To be able to find this guy in such a complicated tunnel, it was definitely a great luck. The sect leader asked him to continue hiding. Was he not joking? Hurry up! Jun Changshao shouted in a deep voice. Shua! Ren Shan tried to stand up and dragged his injured body to another entrance without looking back. Everyone's mouth twitched. This was really not a joke. Jiang Ye collapsed and said, "Sect leader, to be able to meet that guy in such a complicated place, how can we let him run away again?" Plop! After walking for a few crossroads, Ren Shan was caught by Li Qingyang and thrown in front of everyone. Jiang Ye's whole body was petrified. Finding him the first time could be considered lucky, but finding him the second time was definitely not a coincidence. Sect leader. Can you not hit me in the face like this? In any case, he is the only elder of our Iron Bone sect. Jun Changshao squatted down and said, "I'll give you one more chance. Hurry up and hide as far away as possible." Ren Shan wanted to cry but had no tears. "Young friend. I have elders and children to take care of. You're a magnanimous person. Please let me live." He stopped running. To be exact, after being caught twice, he had already realized that the other party must have some special power that could easily find him. Then what was there to run for? He could only surrender. "You can live if you want." Jun Changshao said, "Take me to the spirit stone vein. If you dare to play any tricks again, you'll leave your life in the tunnel." Okay. Okay. I'll take you there. This time, Ren Shan did not play any tricks. Following the marks left by himself and his companions, they soon arrived at a rather spacious cave entrance. The stone wall at the end was inlaid with many crystal clear ores, and there were rough scratches around it. "Young friend," Ren Shan said timidly, "this is the place. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.